How you doing, everybody? Welcome to episode 173 of the F and Marks podcast. I'm Jay, and I am Brainless One. Sorry about the sabbatical last weekend. Had a bunch of stuff going on, so we weren't able to do the podcast. And honestly, we took a hell of a week to do it because there really wasn't a hell of a lot of wrestling going on last week. So it gives us enough ammunition to get fired up. Yeah. And all last week would have definitely been was like us doing the good, bad, and brainless, and me talking shit about Nia Jax for an hour and a half. Yeah. But nevertheless, we are back and we're better than ever, baby. Woo! All right. I love when you're fired up. You know, we got a lot to get into today. Oh, a lot of stuff today, man. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on. Like I was looking at the goat board of goatitude, whatever that means. I mean, right. who comes up with this stuff? I don't know. Why is baby talk? Why? What's a goat board of goatitude? I mean, that person needs to get their brain examined or something. What's up, David? Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, man. That's just me replying to him, man. Oh, shoot. I didn't know that's... we could do that. Oh, my God. That's awesome. What's up, Frank? Thanks for tuning in. I love the fact that there's all of this stuff that I put down on the whiteboard of Wondertude, and there was one thing in particular that I forgot to mention when I was like, oh, this is going to be the one thing that we needed to discuss the most, and I put it as number one spot, and yet you found something even more important than what I found, even though what I found was actually still pretty... Oh, it's still very important. A lot of shit going on. So, we get right into it. Yeah, man. So there is a rumor going around that Vincent Kennedy McMahon is in negotiations to sell WWE. We're not talking about selling rights to like the WWE network so they could do it on ESPN Plus. We're talking about selling the whole fucking enchilada. What's up, Brett? What's up, Brett? Thanks for tuning in, man. Motherfucker! But like, I mean, for how many years have people been saying, we can't wait till the old man's gone and somebody else takes over? If ESPN takes over, like supposedly the groups in the negotiating, and this is according to Dutch Mantel, he heard that they're negotiating with Fox and the USA Network. I mean, you could take some of this with a grain of salt, but I think there is so much going on right now that I think there's a lot of credibility to this. When you hear about Kevin Dunn selling a whole crap ton of stock, $1.5 million worth. And he still owns a bunch of stock in the company, but it's he owns a lot of dams, too. He does. I took a couple of pictures of dams over the past week. But that guy. You know, I think between WrestleMania not going off as it was, the bad publicity that WWE's gotten from their response to the coronavirus, the XFL shorts, the XFL, an supposedly employee of WWE coming forward saying that they felt that they were going to get fired if they did not show up at tapings in Florida. I mean, I know that Dark Side of the Ring is more like geared towards like the wrestling folks like us who like to watch all this stuff. But I mean, that episode on the death of Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend is really, really, really damning. And I think there were some people kind of in the dark, pardon the pun, about Vincent Kennedy McMahon's involvement in this. And when you find out more or less that a briefcase ended up showing up in the cops all of a sudden like going, we can't figure anything out. And, you know, a lot of things looking really bad. And Vincent Kennedy McMahon several times has talked about how like, hey, I don't work. I love what I do. This is fun for me. I don't think the last few months has been a lot of fun for him. Between having to figure out the stuff with the Royal Rumble, XFL going bankrupt, he's getting sued on multiple fronts, including former XFL commissioner Oliver Luck, who happens to be the father of former NFL quarterback Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck. Oliver Luck, who was a former football player in his own right, is suing them for, I think it was breach of contract as part of what his lawsuit is against the WWE and Vince McMahon.
With also allegedly WWE not having any stake in the XFL. We find out that they had almost a quarter stake in the XFL. So honestly, I come back to all of the releases that have happened are specifically XFL related because WWE is still getting about $1 billion a year between Fox and USA Network. Mm-hmm. They're still selling merchandise. When they do house shows, guess what they do? They lose money doing house shows. Now, long term, that's not a good idea. You're building the brand, and like you get little kids showing up at these shows who this is a memory that they have forever. Like I remember my first show. August 10th, 1987 at Muzzy Field. I remember a few things about that. I remember Coco Beware went against the one-man gang, and I remember the Dingo Warrior.
See, I don't remember exactly like the date and the time of where I was when it happened, but I do know I was at the Hartford Civic Center, home of the most infamous franchise in NHL's history, the Hartford Whalers, I'm sorry. And from what I remember from my experiences, that was Hulk Hogan took on Earthquake in the main event, and at that time, it was basically you either got Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior. You didn't get both during house shows. And I remember my dad even asked me, he's like, who would you rather see? And I'm like, who do you think I'd rather see? Hulk Hogan. But I also remember that Sean O's favorite tag team, the Orient Express, took on the Bushwhackers as well. And I was scared as shit because I did not want the Bushwhackers to lick me. Yeah. But like even like when we went to houses, remember when we went to the NXT show and how we keep constantly talking about how we want NXT to come back to Norfolk?
Yeah.
You know, when it was you and me and somewhere else, somewhere in the arena where it was El Jefe and El Hesse. And and I ended up sitting next to that guy who had the man bun, who smelled like $2.99 Walmart brand cologne and barbershop powder. And he couldn't tell the difference. He didn't know that no way Jose was Dominican. And we're not going to get into all that details. But
anyway,
it's experiences is what I was getting at.
But you go to the house shows for the experiences, and it does build up your brand. But like short term, they're actually having more money come in because they don't have to send crews to different places to do this stuff.
Yep.
They don't have to send a crew every week to do SmackDown, NXT, and Raw because it's all in the same spot. So they're not having to pay that shipping cost and what have you. So like they're not losing money there. I put all of these releases specifically down to the XFL failure, the bankruptcy, and all the lawsuits that are coming from this. I mean, another lawsuit beyond that is from like different firemen and police retirement funds that invested in WWE who are now suing them because they're saying more or less that WWE did things to artificially inflate their stock value, and now that it's precipitously falling, and a lot of bad publicity is coming out about whether it's the Saudi Arabia shows and how they weren't paid for like a long time, and it took a lot of wrangling to get money out of the Saudi Arabian government, and the fact that they're still kind of planning to do these shows, it's like things like that.
It's not going to be for a long while though before the next time they go back to Saudi Arabia. And I'll tell you right now,
supposedly their plan is to do it in like November.
Anyway, excuse me. I hate when I have a thought and then I have to burp. Excuse me.
There goes the thought.
That right out the window. Boom.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, Jay, there's going to be a lot more shit that's going to come out. I mean, there was reports coming out this week that there was a hostage situation while they were in Saudi Arabia,
and that was originally part of the thing.
Yeah.
Like they talked about, like, they're kind of holding them hostage, this, that, and the other thing.
The picture that always comes to mind is the one that Brody Lee, FKA, Luke Harper. Just a picture of him outside on the tarmac at the airport with his arms crossed going, well, we can't leave, and we don't know why. So, I mean, there was a lot of discussions with that and everything.
Monsef, what's up,
What's up, Monsef? I think there's going to be a lot of other stuff that's coming out. And I'll tell you, this is, like, 2020 has been a year that Vince McMahon has been taking a lot of body shots. With the XFL flattening out and WrestleMania basically, for the most part, being canceled. Granted, they gave us some kind of a show, better than no show, but still, they lost a lot of money in those ventures. The fact that the dark side of the rings were not making Vince look out to be like a good human being. I mean, it's not even just a super. I mean, I took him one. Even the Dr. David Schultz one was not one that made Vince McMahon look like a Boy Scout in that situation either. And a lot of stuff is going to start coming out that it really doesn't surprise me that Vince McMahon is going to give us, is going to sell WWE to whoever it's going to be. Now, I want to sell to Disney.
I mean, you can forget about the Attitude Era ever coming back again if Disney buys it. But, I think, I don't know. If you were to ask me right now, what do I think the percentages are? I think it's a little bit over 50-50 that he does sell it. I mean, I think there is so much stuff coming down on him. And again, I don't think age is a factor in this at all. I don't think the dude's having fun right now.
He just doesn't give a fuck. That's one of the reports I've heard, too.
Yeah.
We need Donald Duck on a forklift match.
So Monsef, is Vince McMahon really selling WWE? Vince McMahon has come out many times and said, for the right price, as much as I like it to, be a family company, he's like, for the right price, I'd be willing to sell it. And he's been saying that, I think, for years. But, I don't think anybody ever really took him seriously as far as that goes. But, again, I go back to he's got lawsuits, the failed XFL. Like, all this stuff is snowballing into this giant thing. I mean, Ryback came out a week and a half ago saying, like, I think that we're going to see the end of Vince McMahon. And he's like, it's not that Vince isn't going to go down fighting, but Ryback's thought was that somebody was going to contract the coronavirus, somebody within the company, and end up dying, and that was going to cause everybody to just completely lose faith in WWE. But man, we'll see, man.
It's a very interesting time right now, and the one thing that I'll add to this is those dark side of the rings are not making Vince look out to be the good guy in this situation.
Well, I mean, and with the dark side of the ring, like, I don't think those are being broadly viewed. Like, wrestling marks watch them. I love them. I mean, I finally got to see something more of an explanation of the stuff going on with Dino Bravo. That's been something that has been chewing on my brain for years, man.
Mine too.
But so if you are tuning in for the first time, we are the Effin' Marks, and we broadcast live on Facebook on the Wrestling Marks page. But we have several other outlets, but make sure you set up notifications whenever we go live that you can tune in with us. And it's at the Wrestling Marks page on Facebook at facebook.com/WrestleMarks.
And you could also follow us on our other social media outlets, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, YouTube. That's the one I always keep forgetting. I apologize. And that's the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the Effin' Marks. If you like, follow or subscribe to us, we will do the same back. We've always been like that. And we do appreciate you all tuning in, every single one of you.
So Brett was saying he'd like Vince to sell the company to a heavy metal music record label. Back in the day, I could imagine that Interscope Records with Jimmy Iovine would be totally down with that.
That's all we would need is just a rap album between Gwen Stefani, Eminem, and John Cena.
Yeah.
I brush your mouth
like Colgate.
Play greatest rap line ever. I don't even care what you say about House of Pain and Jump Around. One of my all-time favorite songs. I'll brush your mouth like Colgate is still my favorite line. And second is two-faced rappers walk away with 4 shiners.
I don't know. I still love that. I'll serve your ass like John McEnroe. If your girl steps up, I'm smacking the hoe. Word to your mom, I came to drop bombs. I mean, It's so obscenely crazy.
You got to give John Cena the edge because of the fact that he did an album with a guy named Bumpy Knuckles.
Yeah, man.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You know what, Monsef, Triple H running the show. One thing that about this is another company could buy WWE, but keep all the people who are in charge in place, or they can say, hey, WWE, we're going to buy you, but we don't want Vince in charge, but we want Triple H to run the show. So it's possible somebody else buys it and Triple H ends up being the steward of the product. So,
yep. So you got a compliment in your hat. I'm telling you, Jay, the only thing that is more over than your hat on this podcast is the goat board of goatitude.
What's up, David?
Thanks for tuning in, man. Curtis Axel, too.
Right.
Curtis Axel is the only other thing more over.
Right. Monsef, the brainless one sits there and he wants it to be ESPN. I prefer that it would be Fox. I myself. Now, in like even selling to those entities, kind of has its own kind of like quirks because they have a contract with the USA Network, like USA airing a Fox product, or Fox airing an ESPN product and USA airing lots of weird things that would have to be worked out. And supposedly they're saying this is going to take place by mid-May, so within 2 weeks. I find that very hard to believe, but it's more of the professional wrestling and crazy things happen.
I'm telling you right now, this is my crazy tinfoil hat theory of why they should sell it to ESPN, and it makes all the sense in the world. Because think about this. Who works for ESPN?
A lot of goats.
There's a lot of goats that work for ESPN. You are absolutely right about that. But there is one goat in particular. His name is Tim Tebow. And Tim Tebow works for the SEC Network, which is a subsidiary of the ESPN outlet. So ESPN would then be in cahoots with WWE, which means that Tim Tebow could possibly do during College Game Day on SEC Network, could actually win the 24/7 title. They took the Croc Rock away from us. They give us Tebow. I want Tebow in WWE. They took away the Gronk. I want the Tebow.
Gronk is still the 24/7 champion as far as I know.
And he's like the second longest reigning 24/7 champion of all time.
Because they probably want him to get pinned after he scores a touchdown by Bobby Boucher.
They're going to have to pay some kind of astronomical amount of money to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it's like, hey, think about this. We're going to stick it to Tony Khan, who owns the Jaguars right down the road.
Not that it's not. Florida's not like Connecticut. Tampa's at least a 5 or 6 hour drive.
Yeah, so Florida is the dumpster fire of the United States.
Monsef is talking about Spike TV, which is now the Paramount Network. They specifically got out of the wrestling business a few years ago. Like TNA was one of their highest rated shows, and they decided that that's not the direction they wanted to go in anymore. So that's why TNA ended up all over the place and ended up on the Pursuit channel, where I was still holding out hope that one day we were going to surpass their 12,000 viewers in a week.
It still could happen.
It'll probably be the Brainless Annihilation episode when we have the cinematic elements to the show.
I can't wait for that. You have no idea.
I'm telling you, I think we should do it at the field down the road.
I want to build a ring, though, Jay.
You can build a ring.
I know how to build a ring. I actually Googled how to build a ring.
Yeah.
It's just going to cost. It's not even going to cost me a lot of money either. It's just going to. It's just going to be a lot of time and patience, and I'm going to put into this, and this is going to be the highlight of my brainless life. This whole brainless annihilation, and I've already started looking up the prices on blow-up dolls.
Right. Let's be serious. You looked up the price of those years ago. Yeah.
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
Oh man. So. Yeah, this whole Vince selling WWE, I'm putting it at over 50-50. Whatever.
You said WWM. World Wrestling Federation?
I said I didn't enunciate very well.
Yeah. Get the F out. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
What do you think?
What do I think? I want him to do it.
No. What do you want? What do you think?
I think he's going to do it. Okay. I think that Vince McMahon will ultimately, because if you think about this, one of the guys I always constantly talk about, whether it's on this podcast or just in life, and I'll tell you right now, it is the most truthful thing that any human being has ever said, came out of the mouth of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Everybody has a price. And Vince McMahon has a price. And I would not be surprised in the least bit if WWE got sold. I'll tell you, I think that it's
All right.
going to end up being ESPN because I think ESPN has a little bit more of the money to do this. And if you think about it, they actually got quite a few people to view a lot of these old school WrestleManias that they were shooting before the WrestleMania actually happened. And WWE is very prominent in like a lot of the stories that they have posted on ESPN.com. You know, they have a lot of the wrestlers coming in there. They already have the partnership with Charlie Caruso or Charlie Art when she's on ESPN. And you already have that aspect of it. It would be a no-brainer for them to sell it to ESPN, and I think ESPN would be the one that would offer them the most money. It would make things very interesting, though, because of the whole construct with them being under contract with Fox for the next basically 4+ years and with USA. But I still think it's going to end up being ESPN because they have the most. I think they have the most money because they have the attachment to Disney. That way, we can get Mickey Mouse versus Donald Duck at WrestleMania.
That could be perhaps the greatest gimmick match ever.
False.
That could perhaps be
Judy Bagwell on a forklift match is the greatest. No, nay. Let me take that back. The scaffolding match is the greatest gimmick match of all time. And I'm still haven't forgiven you. You think that I'm mad about the cat because he ate my sandwich? I still haven't forgiven you for the fact that you told me the PN News falls off the scaffold
through the ring.
Through the freaking ring. I cannot believe. Oh, bitch.
If you ever get a chance, check out the scaffold match.
PN News does not fall through the ring.
Where PN News and Beautiful Bobby and Stone Cold Steve Austin, before it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I forgot who else was in the match. Like
I want to say it was Johnny B. Bad.
It could have been.
I want to say it was Johnny B. Bad,
I believe it was 1991 when it happened.
Been Too Cold Scorpio.
But man, like me and my friend Tim almost convinced my brother that PN News fell through the ring. I convinced him that PN News did fall through the ring, but you know,
I can't believe you did the same thing to me too. You told me that he fell through it, and then you told me I did the same thing to one of my friends back in the day, and I'm like, that doesn't make it right.
It's great.
It's not great.
That way, when you're sitting there watching it, you're like,
I'm waiting. I've never had more anticipation for what happens in a match in my entire life. Never. In all the 30+ years I've been watching wrestling, I've never been more hyped to see something happen to anybody than I thought the PN News was going to fall through the ring.
You know, that's how Foley kind of did it.
Well, Mick Foley should have died that night, and thankfully he hasn't.
No, like in the Hell in the Cell match versus Triple H, that was supposedly his retirement match.
Yeah,
it did like dent the ring. I was there. I saw it happen at the Hartford Civic Center. It was, I forgot what the pay-per-view was. It might have been No Mercy or something like that. But yeah, Mick Foley actually kind of fell through the ring. You know, not like all the times where like Undertaker when he chokeslammed Edge to hell at SummerSlam in their Hell in a Cell match,
or like when Taz did it to Bam Bam Bigelow on ECW.
Yeah,
that was so awesome when that happened. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but those were gimmicked up. Whereas you thought the PN News one, he was going to drop from like 20 feet down to the ring. Oh. Oh, so good. Yeah.
Proceed.
All right, so we had a returning Jinder Mahal on Monday Night Raw.
I'll tell you right now, a lot of people were excited to see the return of the Jinder. None more excited than El Jefe was to see the return of the Jinder on Monday Night Raw. It's so much so that he's actually going to lift his year-plus long ban on watching Monday Night Raw just to watch Monday Night Raw again for Jinder Mahal.
You know, I like Jinder Mahal.
I do too.
And he's got the Singh brothers with him. Again, everybody is finally healthy in that group. It's probably been a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, I hope he goes against Brock Lesnar and we get to see Brock Lesnar throw some Singh brothers around.
19th row.
And I mean, the thing is, now, this might only be now a mostly empty arena that he gets to sling them around in, because the Florida governor, part of his guidelines is saying during events they can have people in them now. You just have to have appropriate social distancing. And I think they said whatever capacity is, it could only be 1/4 of that. So we might get to see people at Full Sail watching some of these events. And AEW, while they're doing their shows in Jacksonville, could actually put some people in the crowd. You know,
And in case people are wondering what's the proper social distance between you and the person next to you, it's about 2 kitty litter guys between you.
right?
That's the proper social distancing
Yes.
when you're at a wrestling show. Or just pretend like the kitty litter guy is sitting near you, and that's how far you want to get
Be
away.
away
Because you're going to be able to smell his ass.
literally. Yeah.
You fucking fat fucking fuck.
Brett is not a big fan of the Jinder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even I like the Jinder, and I hate everybody.
I think the thing that got Jinder over for me was 3-man band, man. Like, I just fucking love that.
That got it over for you, and then the icing on the cake was the fact that with him, you got the return of the Punjabi prison match that you've been asking for. I don't know what it is. You are better at that than I am, because you get like the Punjabi prison match, and I mean, I'm pretty sure you were the one that called for Edge's return, if I'm not mistaken.
I talked about that for a while.
There was a couple other things. The only thing I get is freaking Nia Jax blowing out both her ACLs.
Hey, you made that happen,
And I did. I'm a hero. The entire women's division sent me a thank you card for that too, by the way.
Oh, great. Speaking of that, Nia, literally less than a week after like that interview was posted about how she stood up for Alexa Bliss because somebody was being a little too dangerous in the ring.
Almost killed Kairi Sane in the ring.
You can't make this stuff up. How is that woman still employed? All she does is injure people. And she's going to be made to be the #1 contender at some point.
She's going to win Money in the Bank next week. Basically, the equivalent of Nia Jax saying that Ronda Rousey is dangerous in the ring is like me going up to somebody who is not intelligent and going, "You are brainless." Yeah? Yeah.
So...
Or Terry Francona going to somebody and saying, "You are a bum."
He loves bums.
He loves bums. You want to play for me?
Monsef agrees with you, brainless one.
I can't stand Nia Jax. I can't. I'm going to give you kind of like a watered down, completely sober version of what I'm like. Really? Really? Why is she there? Why? Vince, I want to know why? Is it because she's The Rock's cousin? Is that what it is? Is it because of the fact that she has that lineage in her? Is it because of the fact that you want to push a bigger woman out there to be a star in your women's division? It's because of the fact that she can put eyeballs on the screen during the Total Divas or Total Bellas or whatever the fucking show is called? Is that what it is? Is that what I'm trying to understand? What's it going to take, Vince? Huh? Everybody's talking about how the coronavirus could potentially take out one of the wrestlers. What happens when Nia Jax kills somebody in the ring? Because it's going to happen. She is god-awful. She is god-awful. She is... it's not going to be of the magnitude of what is on the YouTube, but I'm trying to get it in there. I'm trying to get it in there. God, I almost killed myself.
Coronavirus.
Yeah.
You caused yourself to get the coronavirus.
That's probably what it was. Just like I had SARS like for 6 weeks in October.
Right.
Or November.
Like if you watch the move, like she put Kairi literally in her face so she couldn't see where she was throwing her. But it's like going, why are you going to decide to still do that move if you don't know where you're throwing her? Literally just threw her on her freaking head. My God.
My favorite is the people that went out there and were defending Nia for what she did. And they were like, Kairi Sane didn't seem like she was in any trouble because she would have said so. She was in trouble. And a woman who was Japanese came out and said, "Please put me down." In Japanese is what she said to her. Like all these Nia Jax apologists need to just stop. All these women out there who are just like it's just, and what really I'll save it for later. I'm gonna save it for later.
All right.
I'm almost guaranteeing that there's going to be another tism at some point during the podcast from me.
But, it's not like 10 years ago or 15 years ago where it was a bunch of Barbie dolls that they had in the division. Tamina is a bigger woman. You've got,
Rhea Ripley's pretty solid for one of the women competitors.
But you've got, she's not there anymore, but Sarah Logan, she wasn't, some like pinup model. I mean, they've gone away from that. So like, to me, like keeping her around isn't anything more than like, it's like doing The Rock a favor. But if somebody ends up getting hurt because you're doing a favor, and people keep getting hurt because you're doing a favor, that's just gross negligence in my view. It's like, at this point, she should be getting better. I know that she got back from injury not that long ago, but they sit there and they go to the performance center to knock off the rust. Basically, I think her and your girl there with the red hair should be in a match together, and maybe it should be, no matter what, both careers end forever.
I know you're not talking about Eva Marie. I know you're not mentioning Eva Marie.
I'm not mentioning her, but you are.
I just gave. Why didn't you just say like she who shall remain nameless?
With the red hair.
She's the female Voldemort. Oh, wait, that's right. I'm not supposed to say his name.
Right.
But she needs to be the one that catches the coronavirus. I'm sorry. Nia Jax needs to be the one that catches the coronavirus.
Oh, boy.
So that she can go away. Because then that's the only way that Vince McMahon can come back from this. Because it's like, if Vince is too stupid to see that she is a negligent person in the ring, maybe it's got to be Mother Nature that takes her out. Okay?
That's pretty dark.
Well, what do you want me to tell you? For like the last 2 weeks, I've been talking about I hope Vince catches it. This is the first time I've actually said I hope Nia Jax catches the coronavirus. I'm here to be controversial. I'm not here to hand out hugs, Jay.
Speaking of controversial and interesting watches, Dino Bravo, the dark side of the ring that they did on that, my goodness. Again, it's one of those things that I've been kind of bringing up on the podcast for a little while, and just kind of like, I was hoping that they were going to do it once I heard that Vice was doing a thing, Dark Side of the Ring, and I was like, or the Dark Side of Wrestling, but I was like, I'd really like to see something on this, and it was just, finally like hearing from like Dino's wife and his daughter, who is a pretty good looking girl, by the way. But like,
that's what Big C said.
Kind of just touching on the different things that were going on in his life. But I really like. I dug that they kind of showed how prominent he was in the territory that he was like the. I don't know if he owned it or was the head booker, but like he was almost like the Hulk Hogan of the Montreal area, and wanted to continue doing his thing, but then WWF overran his territory, and eventually he signed with WWE, and WWE allowed him an extravagant lifestyle, and then when he got to his mid-40s, and they're like, "Oh no, we ain't got nothing more for you." So he ended up getting involved with, it appears to be a branch of the mob, and was doing things that, more or less what they said is like, he wasn't a seasoned mobster, so he did things that kind of disrespected and or rubbed people the wrong way. But because of his prominence, because he was recently on WWF TV, people wanted to work with him. So he ends up getting all these contacts, but he ends up pissing off a bunch of people, and the wrong ones. Mm-hmm. So, frickin' A, man. It really interesting watching, and they still have no idea. They have some things that they kind of believe or suspect, but they don't. They're they're not 100% sure who pulled the trigger, but dude got shot. I think it was 11 times and 7 times in the head.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't try to defend himself, and this is a big dude, so obviously it's somebody he knew who came into his house, and apparently he was watching a hockey game, and his wife and kid were away, and fucking A, man. Fucking A.
Two things I wanted to bring up with that. We both kind of just witnessed something over the last couple of weeks that kind of goes hand in hand with, like, you don't want to rub the wrong people the wrong way because you'll get your nuts shut off.
If you watch Ozark and you've gotten to the end of season 3, you'll understand exactly what we're talking about.
That's the only thing I'm going to say about it, other than the fact that right now Ozark is just outside my top 3 favorite shows of all time. So that shot up really quick. That show shot up to my top 5 favorite shows of all time faster than my 180 I turned on Daniel Jones. But another thing I wanted to bring up is that there was two stories that you really wanted to see in Dark Side that we both wanted to see. There was one that you wanted to see, and there was one I wanted to see, especially after they did season 1. You wanted to see the Dino Bravo story because you wanted to get a better understanding and a better idea of what happened. The one I want to see is the season finale of what they're going to do for season 2, and that's the Owen Hart story. Because still to this day, whenever I see Owen Hart on the network during one of the shows, if he's on it when I'm watching it, I fight holding back a tear because it's that hard. Because it still is one of the most traumatic things I've witnessed, or not even really witnessed, but like it was definitely the most depressing thing that I've dealt with as a wrestling fan is the death of Owen Hart, just because he died in the ring in such a horrific way. And just imagine, like, you know how they used to say, like, Vince McMahon would say, you don't have to do something that I wouldn't do myself. Like, imagine if that happened with him and he was the one that plummeted 80 feet to his death.
Well, and the thing with Vince, when Shawn Michaels did his entrance into WrestleMania 12,
yes,
you know who did it first?
Vince McMahon.
I have no doubt Vince McMahon, like, would have done the Blue Blazer thing if he said, all right, Vince, prove it. Vince would have gotten in and done it, because that's
how Vince was.
How Vince was. So, like, I have zero doubt Vince would have done something like that just to prove it, but it's like, you know, it sucks that an accident happens and kills somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the one I really want to see in the Dark Side of the Ring.
Seth wants to see one on the Click.
That's the one after the UW. And that was something I did want to bring up on the podcast, because there was something I didn't really know about. Maybe you have a better idea of it. What the fuck is the UWF?
UWF was a wrestling federation back in the day. I want to say that UWF was an offshoot from, I think, when World Class ended.
Mm-hmm.
There was another thing also around that time called GWF, which a lot of the wrestlers from World Class ended up there. It got really confusing for a little while of, like, who owned World Class, and, like, so I think, like, Jerry Jarrett, which I think had a thing like CUSA or something along those lines.
Jarrett's dad, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
He bought a portion of World Class Championship Wrestling, and I believe he still might even own it. Vince McMahon ended up buying, like, the other portion eventually, and that's why we see a lot of World Class Championship Wrestling stuff on the network. But, like, that got all sorts of, like, effed up in litigation over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a ton of specifics about UWF, but, like, I'm familiar. I watched wrestling from UWF, like any wrestling back in the day. If it was on TV, I watched it. Whether it was AWA on ESPN, World Class Championship Wrestling on
American
ESPN.
Wrestling Association?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that in years.
Hey, AWA, they had a lot of big stars, man. And Road Warriors kind of got their start there.
I
So
remember
did
that.
Flair, Nick Bockwinkel was a big deal there. Sergeant Slaughter was a big deal there.
That's in order.
Ken Patera, Iron Sheik.
Ken Patera, one of the 87 different world's strongest men the WWE had.
Yeah.
Because it was him,
Hey,
Bravo.
Well, think about it. Ken Patera was one of the people in one of, at least for me, when I was growing up, one of the storylines that kind of got me hooked was, I think it was Big John Studd was going against Andre, and at the end of the match, as Gorilla Monsoon would say, a Pearl Harbor job happened, where it was, I think, Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy, and Ken Patera. They took out Andre and then shaved his hair. Because he used to have that gigantic mop, and they kind of shaved it down. But like that was like one of the storylines that like got me into it. But like, yeah, Ken Patera started in AWA.
I thought you were going to say that the story.
Gagne, like, and for me, WWE Network stuff, as far as documentaries, I love the ones on the organizations. The one on AWA, the World Class Championship Wrestling one, the ECW one, the WCW one. Really I fucking love all of those. Like, I could watch them over and over and not get bored. The one I probably watched the most was the Rise and Fall of WCW, but
same.
But the one on the AWA is really good. They did not have one on UWF, but Triumph and Tragedy of World Class Championship Wrestling is another great documentary. Like I watched World Class so much growing up because I'd get home from school. And what was on at like 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon on ESPN, World Class. So, you know, that just
shows the times. You know what I was watching at 3:30, 4 o'clock after school when I was a kid?
What?
Total Request Live with Carson Daly.
See, like I think it was when I got home at 3 o'clock, G.I. Joe, 3:30 Transformers, and then wrestling. I think that was the lineup.
See, for me, it was wrestling. I was watching Saturday, I want to say like 11 or 12.
Yeah, Superstars of Wrestling.
And that was what we used to watch. And that's how I got into WWE or WWF or whatever you want to call it. And my favorite part about those Saturday morning shows or Saturday early afternoon shows was the fact that you would get like one legitimate match. It'd be like Jake the Snake versus Rick Martel, or you would get Hercules Hernandez versus like Tito Santana, but then the rest of the card, and which is probably the reason why to this day I love a good squash match, is that you would get the matches. It would be like Earthquake versus Damian Demento, or you would get Tony DeVito versus the Berserker, or whoever, you know, whatever they can come up with, and you know that's where my wrestling thing. Yeah, He's got a drug problem and he's in jail, I believe. He lost his dealership that he used to have.
Huh.
I just recently looked up.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, last I heard he was like selling cars somewhere, but
I guess he something. I forget what happened. I think he's in prison though.
Well, non-Seth, I think what you're talking about, AWA Legends of Wrestling, I think was the show back in the day.
But the one thing I wanted to bring up from the UWF, and it was something that the Dark Side of the Ring Instagram account was talking about, because it seems like as soon as they get to ready to promote the next episode, they do a lot of stuff on it. And one of the things they talked about was the infamous main event, which was Dr. Death Steve Williams versus wrestler Dave Meltzer.
Nice.
I would love to get in the ring with Meltzer. Give me 5 minutes in the cage with Meltzer.
Dude, that guy is in shape, man.
I don't give a fuck, Jake.
He'll tire you out in 10 seconds.
I will give me 5 minutes in the cage with Meltzer.
You'll be tired in 10 seconds.
I don't care. Give me 5 minutes in the cage with Meltzer. That's all I want.
I can beat on you.
It's either him or give me Kevin Dunn. It's one or the other.
All right.
With no wood in the ring. He brings a log, I bring a chair.
Yeah. So it should be an interesting rest of the season. I have not caught the episode from this past Tuesday, but I'll probably do it today or tomorrow.
The doctor. Oh, shoot, why am I having a break?
Dr. David Schultz.
The David Schultz one, I heard was actually really good.
There has not been one of them where I'm like, this was poorly done. You know what actually like is incredible to me is when they do these recreations, they do such a good job of like, it's blurred out, but like they get somebody that like looks like the person, like not just like in their face, but like build. You're like going, that's Hulk Hogan. I mean, it's incredible.
As impressed as I was that they were able to find somebody that looked a hell of a lot like Bruiser Brody, I was even more impressed when they found somebody that looked like Dutch Mantle.
Yeah.
Uncle Zebekiah. Zeb Coulter.
No, see, I always called him Dutch Mantel, not Mantle.
Whatever.
I don't know which one's right, honestly. But I always said Dutch Mantel.
Well, the question is it Tremont? Is it Tremont or Tremont?
It depends.
See, I was told that I was wrong because I was pronouncing it Tremont, and it's Tremont. So, tomato, potato, potato, retard, Nia Jax, it's all the same thing.
Not Lamont. What?
No, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow was actually able to make himself the worst governor when they had the 50th best governor in the entire country there.
Hey.
But we're not here to talk about Connecticut. But speaking of Connecticut, this is actually a hell of a segue now that I think about it. Last week, they celebrated the 25 years of Triple H in WWE. Some of you might remember, a lot of people know him as the Game, the cerebral assassin, the man who used to have Lemmy forget his words as he sang him to the ring at WrestleMania 17. It's all about the game and how you game it. But
Lemmy was drunk. It's all rock and roll.
I'm sure that's what it was.
Maybe had an 8-ball before.
But 25 years ago, WWE got introduced to a failed WCW product who was known as Terra Rising, which is almost as bad as Hugh Morris. Is that supposed to be funny?
It?
What?
Is that supposed to be
humorous? What? When Vince McMahon decided to bring in a snooty buttwad from Greenwich, Connecticut, which used to piss me off as a kid too. That really pissed me off that he had to be from Greenwich, Connecticut. Because you know how long I've been waiting for a wrestler to be from Connecticut so I could back him. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of comes in with those dickholes from fucking
the Portuguese man of war.
He's from Portugal.
Justin Credible is from Waterbury, man.
I know, but he's the Portuguese man of war. This is like the the Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka and South Park.
Right.
But
you got a Connecticut guy.
If I look at yourself a Connecticut guy and he's a snooty, uptight buttwad with a massive nose and long hair, he used to come out to classical music and had a woman as a bodyguard. Even though she wasn't really part of his bodyguard until he became less like Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Right.
Still, to me, one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history, when his entrance lasted longer than his match against the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 12. And it's all been downhill since then because Triple H went to Home Depot, bought himself a golden shovel, and started burying people.
He has still been a part of... I'm going to say it's my favorite WrestleMania entrance of all time, the one when he came out for Who the Bell Tolls from Metallica before, I think it was the Hell in a Cell match against The Undertaker. That was fucking badass, where he had like the knights like surrounding him with the shields, and he came up and had to... so fucking good.
I hate to say the fact that John Cena has my favorite WrestleMania entrance of all time, when they actually had the marching band play his song to the ring. As much as I couldn't stand how they booked Cena back then, that was so fucking cool because that's where it gets me. Is like when you come up with creativity like that, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and I really do feel like we missed out on what possibly could have been another legendary entrance this past year at WrestleMania because of no Fiend entrance from WrestleMania.
But we ended up getting what you consider like one of your favorite moments of all time.
That was so fucking cool. Look, I don't care what anybody says. The Firefly Funhouse is one of the most creative and entertaining things I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
It's also called an acid trip.
I wouldn't know. I've never had acid in my life. So
neither have I, but Bray Wyatt's brain melted. and he melted John Cena's
It was
brain.
fucking awesome. I'm sorry. I will still say this. The Firefly Funhouse was better than all of WrestleMania 9. The Firefly Funhouse and the Boneyard match were better than WrestleMania 9 and WrestleMania 11.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 11.
In your house. And WrestleMania 27.
The first WrestleMania where the WWF champion was not in the main event.
Right. So.
Thank you, Hulk Hogan.
So, yeah, the Triple H 25-year celebration 8 days ago on SmackDown, they brought out Shawn Michaels.
Of course they did.
Seth talked about how it seemed like Vince was kind of a little bit out of it. So
good shit, pal.
Yeah.
That's all good shit, pal. You see, it's funny because like a few years ago they did the same thing with The Undertaker where they celebrated 25 years of The Undertaker WWE. But it's like, if you think about it on the grand spectrum of both wrestlers, The Undertaker was a idea that Vince McMahon had that wasn't supposed to last very long, who turned out to be the greatest gimmick that wrestling has seen since a gorilla monsoon, which is a monsoon of gorillas, because I don't think there's anything more scarier than that. And The Undertaker just became what The Undertaker became. To me, the 25-year celebration of Triple H and WWE was just Triple H showing his love and appreciation for his favorite person in the entire world, Triple H. And I really thought that we were going to get one of those Edge Lita exposés that we got after their title celebration where he was going to be in the ring humping the shovel that he buried a lot of people with. And that's how I look at it, because and I've said this before, I know you and I have talked about this a lot of times outside of the podcast. I think that Triple H is the most overrated wrestler in the history of WWE, because he thought that he was always better than what people portrayed him as. Yes, granted, he got a lot of title opportunities, but it's like, you were fucking the boss's daughter, man.
I always come back to Barry Bonds when it comes to
exactly.
Triple H.
Yeah.
He was already Hall of Fame level. I mean, he had already won the world title before he got involved with Stephanie.
Yes.
But Stephanie was the steroids that made his career where it's like going. I mean, there were 3 or 4 years there where he buried everybody.
It's like
absolutely everybody.
If you think about this, is he bigger than Hulk Hogan?
No.
Is he bigger than Stone Cold Steve Austin?
No.
Is he bigger than The Rock?
No.
Is he bigger than The Undertaker?
No.
Is he bigger than his best friend Shawn Michaels?
Probably not. But there's just different levels of stuff. I would say during the height of Triple H, the top level of him might be higher than some of those guys, but as far as where you feel it was because he deserved it and not because he was the boss's daughter, that's kind of where it's going. I mean, I know James E. Cornette has a lot of things to say about Triple H. I think he more or less said, if anybody else was pushed that much, they would be about as over as Jesus Christ is. And Triple H, to me, is a fine performer. Agreed. He really is.
A hell of a performer on the microphone. He's still one of my favorite guys on the microphone. I'll give him that.
I dug his match with Roman Reigns in WrestleMania 32. I thought they put on a really good match. They just happened to follow, I think it was the Hell in the Cell match. So it's going to be hard to get the crowd back for that. And I think most people knew Roman was going to win. It was when there was the heavy Roman hate period.
Yeah.
But I thought, they put on a heck of a match. The match that he had against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 was the match of the night, in my view. So the guy could go in the ring. He does have a good persona, but you know what? he was always the guy going against the guy. He was never the guy. My Stone Cold was the guy, or The Rock was the guy.
Yep. But he thought he was in the class with Stone Cold, The Rock, and Hulk Hogan. He was never bigger than Cena either. Cena was much bigger than he was. In fact, I'll even say one of his counterparts in Evolution, hell, two of the counterparts in Evolution were bigger than he was. Obviously, Ric Flair, because I mean, nobody, and I will say this, nobody is on the level of Ric Flair. I put Ric Flair in a stratosphere all by himself because he's a GOAT. He's the GOAT. When Steve Austin comes out and says that you are the GOAT, guess what? You're the GOAT. Sorry. When a GOAT says you're a GOAT, you're a GOAT. And I also think that Randy Orton's I think he's bigger than Triple H, in my opinion, because he's got staying power. It's like, yeah, he hasn't gotten to 25 years, but think about this. Randy Orton is in his 18th year in WWE, and he's not even 40 yet? That shit blows my mind, too. Or he just turned 40, I think.
One thing I will say for Triple H, though, he could have rested on his laurels, but I remember, I think I went to a house show sometime back around maybe 2010. It might have been a little before he was at the house show and he did all he could to entertain the fans. It's like going, at that point, he'd been with the boss's daughter and married to her for a long time. He could have done, like Shawn Michaels or Undertaker had been doing at that time, which is just show up to TV and do that. But no, here he was. He was on the road with the boys, still doing, the hard work of being a touring wrestler for the WWE. So I'll give him credit for hard work. I'll give him credit for being pretty good in the ring and being a pretty damn good character. But he certainly has his level was inflated because of.
I guess the best way to describe it is a conversation I've had with many wrestling fans over the years. And it's whenever I talk about WrestleMania 18, and everybody, what's the one, when I say WrestleMania 18, what's the first thing that pops in your mind?
It's Rock and Hogan.
And everybody thinks what about Rock and Hogan?
It was the main event.
And what is the thing that people are always wrong about?
That it was the main event. It was the second to last match, and the last match died a death.
And who was in the main event of WrestleMania 18?
It was one Triple H versus the GOAT, Chris Jericho.
You said it wrong. It's the GOAT of GOATs, who has goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom. Y2 GOAT.
Triple H has had a affinity for being in the match that ends the card, that ends up going a bit flat. I mean, again, the Roman Reigns versus Triple H match I thought was really good, but for the crowd it fell a little flat, only because literally we just saw Shane McMahon jump off the top of the freaking Hell in the Cell, and everybody's like, holy fuck. How can you sit? You literally have stolen all the cheers from out of the crowd because they've been sitting there for 20 hours because WrestleMania has been going on for that long.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, there was the WrestleMania where he went against Orton. And if I'm remembering my WrestleMania is correct, I believe that followed the Undertaker Shawn Michaels, maybe?
I think so.
So guess what match people don't remember? And by the way, that match with Orton, which they had this great build-up, that match ended up falling flat because at the beginning of the match, they were trying something different. Both of them hit the finishers right off the bat and didn't get the pin, but the match just wasn't very good. They had this incredible build-up, and the match just went.
What?
So Triple H ends up in the main event a lot and ends up falling flat.
When he is not in the main event, he delivers. He's just not I just don't think he's a main event caliber guy. I think he's one of those guys, he's like a back end main event type of a person, whereas the big stars, the guys who are always in the limelight are The Rock and Austin and Shawn Michaels and John Cena and The Undertaker and everybody else and Hulk Hogan. And then it's like Triple H is kind of like one of those guys. Yeah, we'll throw him a bone every once in a while, but he's maybe like a 4 or 5 time world champion type of thing. Like for me, one of the matches that always sticks out in regards to Triple H was his match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 17. That was one of the best matches of that night.
And that's the greatest WrestleMania of all
arguably
time.
the greatest WrestleMania of all time, even though it was the one that pissed me off to a point where I stopped watching wrestling. But it was a great match. It was a great story, and the way that it ended was fantastic. And it's one of the 2 times I ever mentioned Triple H, and like, oh my God, I remember that match at WrestleMania. Not like, oh, I forgot he fought Chris Jericho at 18. I forgot about the time that he buried Booker T. I think it was at 19 or 20.
I think that was 19.
And it's like, I do remember when he lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 17. I absolutely remember when he got buried by the Ultimate Warrior, because it was part of the buildup that he had against Sheamus when they had their match, I think at like WrestleMania 25 or 26, I believe it was.
I was going to say it was 26.
It was the year, one of the first years, I think it was, because it
was Sheamus's first WrestleMania, and I believe he started in 2009.
And he was like, you know what I did? I found the biggest dog in the park I could find, and what happened? I got destroyed. And I'm like, no, you got buried, bitch. But I'm sorry, I never looked at Triple H as one of those guys. I'm not saying that Triple H wasn't good. I'm just saying that Triple H was not on the level that Triple H thought he was on.
Well, and going back to the Triple H on his own had gotten to like the Intercontinental title, but he always needed somebody with him,
whether it was China
or Shawn Michaels or
X-Pac or
New Age
Outlaws or Rick Rude.
You know,
Greg the Bunny.
Yeah. Or Stephanie McMahon. Like, you know, as part of that storyline with the McMahon-Helmsley era.
Right.
You know, like, he always had somebody with him.
Or Evolution,
the 2-man power trip. I mean, the list goes on and on. It wasn't until, like, much later after, like, being, you know, kind of helped out. Yeah, he was the leader of DX for a long time, but like, and he was like the leader of Evolution, but it's like he always needed people with him.
Yep.
It wasn't him on his own. You know, it just didn't happen for him. So like, it's interesting to put all this into context where you're like, he was good, but not transcendental, or like where you're like going, this guy's gonna like transcend generations and going to be great things. Like, I think he's been a better executive than he was a wrestler. Nothing against him as a wrestler, but I think he's a better really good at booking wrestling. So,
and the best way to put it is, if they were to actually build a physical WWE Hall of Fame, the only way that they would have a wing named after him is because either Vince paid for it or Triple H threw a temper tantrum to get what he wanted. They're not going to just build, like, if they built one for Ric Flair, you name the building after Ric Flair, first of all. But, or Bruno Sammartino. But, I mean, like,
I mean, there's stories back in the day that Triple H tried to bury Kurt Angle, saying he's not big enough, blah, 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 blah. And whoever it was, I don't remember who it was, who was in that meeting said, hey, you don't think he's big enough? I dare you. You go into the ring with him and you shoot with him and you tell him that he's not big enough to be the WWF champion.
I fucking love Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle would have eaten him for fucking breakfast.
Oh, easily.
So,
what was Kurt Angle part of that Flight from Hell? Or was that Brock Lesnar?
Brock was on it. Brock and Mr. Perfect got into it. And that's what ended up leading to Mr. Perfect going bye-bye from WWF.
And it's just fitting that Tommy posted what he posted too, by the way.
He's absolutely wrong with that. But, you know.
Kurt Angle, I think there was one where Kurt Angle actually made Vince tap out, if I'm not mistaken.
There might be that, but...
No, it was The Undertaker. Like, I guess Undertaker and Kurt Angle got into a fight on a plane, and Kurt Angle actually choked out The Undertaker. And Undertaker was like, I ain't fucking with Kurt Angle anymore.
Well, back in the day with Kurt Angle, you know what they did? They just wanted to see who was better, he and Brock. Mm-hmm. had a wrestling match, a Greco-Roman wrestling match, because Brock was, NCAA heavyweight champion, and Kurt Angle won a gold freaking medal with a broken fucking neck. Yeah.
Kurt Angle, I to this day, I still love Kurt Angle.
But basically, they asked Kurt Angle, hey, what happened when you guys had that little tussle between you and Brock? He's like, I won, but I wasn't itching to get back in the ring with him. He's like, more or less, Brock's a bigger dude, and I had a little bit better technique, but I had to be on the defense a lot of the time. He was like, it was no walk in the park. So, I mean, if you want to know how scary and how legit that dude was back in the day, he beat Brock Lesnar in wrestling.
I love Kurt Angle. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. Yeah. I most certainly do not suck. The man who and it's not even just because of the fact that I love Kurt Angle because of what he did. I respect Kurt Angle a lot for what he did, because the transition from being a amateur wrestling background to the professional wrestling background is not an easy thing. Ronda Rousey caught on rather quickly too. But when you're a fan of the business, how many times? Come on, you're telling me that have you and Scotty actually tussled like WWF? Like you and him clothesline each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And all that stuff. When you're a wrestling fan, you've definitely done every single move, even though they tell you don't try this at home. You still go out there and you're suplexing people and power slamming them and all that stuff. And for me, Kurt Angle grasping as quickly as he did, because it's one thing to get the wrestling aspect of it, but the fact that he was actually pretty spot on the mic almost immediately was just incredible. And that was another one of those documentaries that was on the network that I loved the Kurt Angle one.
Yeah, that was good. Well, with the Kurt Angle story, my favorite part is just like he was in rough shape during parts of his time in TNA, and you know what? He was able to get his life together, because I mean he had gotten, I think, like 3 or 4 DUIs within like 18 months. Mm-hmm. It's like going, when you see that many DUIs, guess what? There is a freaking problem. Like you know that you're driving that badly when you keep on getting pulled over. And it's just good to see that he's off drugs, off alcohol, and, his family life seems good. And, outside of WWE, he was doing stuff to sell, like, I think it was healthy food products, mm-hmm. which was actually doing pretty well on its own. He didn't need to come back to WWE, but he felt like he needed to come home to finish off his career in the way he wanted to do it. So kudos on him for getting his shit together, and kudos on him for making the transition and for being one that was not buried by Triple fucking H. So.
Correct. Although he did lose to Steve Austin the night that Chris Jericho pulled off the most unthinkable moment in wrestling history. And in my opinion, is the 3rd or 4th biggest moment in wrestling history, was the night Chris Jericho beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin to become the first ever undisputed world heavyweight champion.
All right, so David, he's saying that he does not think Kurt Angle's career should have ended by losing to Baron Corbin.
Well, the talk is that he was supposed to have his retirement match this year, and he wanted his last match to be against John Cena. He wanted Cena to be the one that he did the honors for, but timing-wise, he was just like, let's just end it this year. And Vince wanted him for
Angle was the one who said, like, my body doesn't work like it used to anymore. The way Angle was describing it, he had, developed arthritis from all the years that, just beating up his body and all the training that he's done. That, like, he was like, when I came back to WWE, they wanted to make sure that I was on the straight and narrow and was not going to fall off the wagon. And they took a little bit of time before they were going to allow me to get in the ring. Well, because I hadn't been in the ring, then all of a sudden, all the little creaks became big creaks by the time I actually got into the ring. And that's, he just couldn't move as well as he used to. And he was like, he didn't want to, like, embarrass himself in the ring. And it's like, I could see where a guy, a top level athlete like that is like, I'm done. And you got to know for a competitor like that how hard it is for him to be like, I can't do it anymore at the level I need to. I'm done.
It's kind of
and
like,
that's what it came down to. It wasn't Vince saying he had to be done. Vince still wanted him to finish off, but he's like going, all right, well, your storyline's been with Corbin. He needs to be your last match. So.
And it's sad because it's not even just professional wrestling that it happens. We've seen it a lot of times in other sports. If you think about it, even as a Red Sox fan, you know how sad and disheartening it was to watch a 40-something-year-old Derek Jeter with no range playing shortstop for the New York Yankees? I mean, yeah, it was kind of happy because that's how stupid the Yankees are, because they have no problem paying these guys millions of dollars to suck at vital positions for them just because it's like, we need to hang on to Jeter for too long. You know, the same thing is like, well, look at Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady's done. You know, the people are like, well,
Wait. I'm just going to have to cut in here for a second. Last year, what was the Patriots' record?
I don't remember.
12-4. What happened the year before?
They won the Super Bowl.
What happened the year before that?
They lost they did the unthinkable, and they gave the Eagles a Super Bowl win.
How many yards did Brady throw for that game?
Yeah, he threw for a lot of yards.
Yeah, over 500. If you're going based off the end of last year when he had no receivers that could get open, like, it's possible age has caught up to him, but he had nobody to throw to. He had Julian Edelman, who would occasionally get open.
Julius.
Right.
Right. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't have a Gronk either. Still, I think Father Time was finally caught up to Tom Brady.
It's very possible.
Personally,
it's very possible.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like I would be surprised if the Buccaneers. I would be surprised if the Bucs won the division. I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs, and they could do some scary things as a 5, 6, or 7 seed in the playoffs.
They can.
I don't see them making it to the Super Bowl though. And even if they do, they're going to get curb stomped by freaking your boy Patrick Mahomes.
Right. The
soon-to-be two in a row time greatest.
Two-time.
And then he'll be one Super Bowl away from being 100 times better than Troy Aikman ever was.
Right.
Because fuck the Cowboys.
Right.
But, yeah.
So another thing that did happen this week is we had 2 releases in the WWE. One of which was Cain Velasquez. Now, allegedly, Cain Velasquez had a $5 million deal with WWE, and he only made one major appearance, and I think he did a house show and did a couple of Monday Night Raws. I know that after his match with Brock, I think he had his knee scoped, but I think there was a lot of untapped potential there, but he was making a lot of money for a guy who wasn't doing anything. So I understand that cut based off the fuck-ups of Vince McMahon that we covered earlier today and 2 weeks ago.
And another thing I've heard about with the whole Cain Velasquez thing is that he was doing a lot of things backstage that was rubbing people the wrong way, which is what ultimately cost him his job too, other than the fact that he had a very hefty contract attached to his name as well for somebody who was only made one significant televised match, and that was when he tapped out in less than 2 minutes to Brock Lesnar in Saudi Arabia, which means you and I didn't see it. So, but the other, I can't do it. I don't have the heart to do it, Jay. I can't do it.
F and Mark's Hall of Famer Curtis Axel was let go by the WWE this week. Now, I'm not going to say that this wasn't expected. I mean, when you look at the people that have kind of hung around for a long time and you're like, I didn't know that person was still employed. Epico and Primo,
were released 2 years ago and still got released again.
I think this was the 3rd or 4th time they got released and not released or released and what have you. But no, Curtis Axel has finally been let go. I'm wondering what's going to happen to, what happens to his B team compatriot there. That's another guy who has kind of been lingering around. Now, do they keep him around just because his brother's, Bray Wyatt and
his dad just got furloughed?
Who knows? And you know what? Maybe this is a thing we could bring up almost every week too. That man, IRS, Mike Rotunda, deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's a fucking sham, and that's why we have our own fucking Hall of Fame.
He's probably going in this year.
But that fucking guy, like between Mike Rotunda as part of the Varsity Club, where I think he was a tag team champion and television champion. You got him as IRS, who is a multiple-time tag team champion.
I always reminded you to do your taxes by April 15th, by the way. Let's not forget how important it was that Erwin R. Shyster used to remind everybody to make sure they paid their taxes. And by the way, he is still Ned Lamont and Dan Malloy's favorite wrestler of all time.
Right. I remember, I forget what WrestleMania it was, but they had President Bill Clinton in the audience. And IRS was sitting there with him. It could have been WrestleMania 11. It was one of the, like, I think I want to. It was probably 12, but they like IRS was sitting behind the president and talking about making sure everybody got their taxes in and how he was going to do a great job for the president.
It wasn't 11. I would remember that. I remember when WrestleMania 11 did it was like a terrible nightmare.
So,
but. It's a shame. I'm sorry. I'm a huge fan of Curtis Axel. Another one of the wrestlers out there that turned chicken shit into chicken salad, and WWE just didn't know how to book them. It's a shame. It really is. But I will say this: there is a part of the podcast that will still live on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and I will not stop doing that, even though he is no longer part of WWE. Yeah. So there's that. Kind of a surprise that there was only a couple of them that got leaked. Should we expect a couple more?
Like I said, I think that Bo Dallas might be one of them.
I just saw Aki Bono.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unfortunately that we saw the Mauler of Meatloaf, the Destroyer of Denny's, the Walloper of Waffle House, the Blaster of Burger King or whatever it was. I don't have my phone. It's on my charger, so I can't really look it up right now. But Cassius Ohno was, you know what, Tommy? You're talking about the fact that he was being in the Royal Rumble when he was released. When you constantly remind us that Hornswoggle is still alive in the Royal Rumble, and Hornswoggle was released many years before Curtis Axel was. So he is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. And actually, this is good, because this is actually brought up, help me remember something too, Tommy. It did come out this week, because just like we were talking about Vince McMahon, how it can't get any worse, somebody who was part of WWE Creative, I cannot make this shit up, by the way. Somebody in WWE Creative
good shit.
Pitched an idea where Vince McMahon got so fed up with Hornswoggle in the storyline once he found out he was his son, that they pitched the idea of Vince McMahon taking Hornswoggle, shoving him in a sack, and throwing him off a bridge, thusly killing him off of WWE television.
That's such good shit.
And Vince actually, and I was actually blasting the shit because I really thought that was something that Vince McMahon would actually think or do or whatever it was. But Vince McMahon was the one who ultimately put the kibosh on that, and rightfully so, because you can't have something like that. It would have been bad television. Just
right,
like Vince McMahon. I'm telling you, one of these times we're going to dedicate an entire episode to stupid fucking things that either Vince Russo or Vince McMahon or anybody else in WCW, WWE, ECW came up with stupid ideas. Like Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
The Black Scorpion.
I love
the Black Scorpion. The Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, the Dungeon of Doom was pretty stupid. Speaking of old school WCW, I was gonna plan something out.
Like when PM News fell off the scaffold and fell through the ring.
It was around Wednesday or Thursday this week. I was talking to a fan of the Effin' Marks. His name is Big C. You know Big C. I know Big C.
We've done a podcast from his house.
We've done a podcast, and he was the the idea behind the setup of the podcast room and everything. He wanted me to issue a challenge to a certain co-host of the F and Marks podcast, and said, anytime, anywhere, any way possible, he wants to go one-on-one with the not brainless one in a battle of WCW.
Okay. Trivia.
Trivia.
All right.
I was going to say information, but I think trivia sounds better. He wants to issue the challenge. He wants to do it on the podcast too.
Oh, that's great.
He wants to. He said he will wipe the floor with you.
It's possible, but
I said, and you know what? I came to your side though, Jay, and I said, you know what, Corey? Just because you can actually physically pick him up and mop the floor with him, whereas we would need like 12 forklifts to pick your fat ass up off there. I'm kidding. I didn't say that. I'm not that fucked. I mean, I kind of am, but I'm not that fucked.
You would, because that's how your friendship is.
But I said, you know what, Corey? I'm like, just because you think you can mop the floor with him, even though you have the hair of a mop, I think that Jay would kick your ass in WCW trivia. and it's now set. So we are going to set it up. We're going to set up the stakes. We're going to set up a time and a place, and we're going to do it on the podcast.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Cousin Jay, one-on-one with the Big C.
Yeah.
2 men enter. 2 men still walk out. A little more brainless. But he wanted me to issue that challenge on the podcast.
Yeah.
Figured that'd be a little.
Why not, man?
It's a little fun. And you know who's going to host that game show of WCW Yay or Nay?
Byron Saxton.
Fuck Byron Saxton. The one, the only.
That would be an unfair challenge, but I'll take that any day of the week. Hair versus hair?
I'm telling Corey that one. He's going to love that one. He's going to love that one. He won't sign off on it, but
yeah, Corey has a pretty good mane on his head.
Yeah, if you've ever seen the movie Con Air, there's been times when we'll walk outside and like the way the wind is blowing on the near the pier, he looks like Nicolas Cage in Con Air. He's got better hair than Nicolas Cage in Con Air, and I mean, it's tremendous.
Virus.
There's not a lot of dudes out there that can actually rock the long hair and it looks good. It's a good look for him, and he knows it too.
Yeah,
but he would never sign up on a hair versus hair match. No.
So,
this is
we'll figure out the stakes.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm excited for this too.
Yeah,
I will come up with some interesting questions. I'll throw a couple of cookies in there, but I will throw some very tough stuff. I could see a question like, what 2 characters in WCW had the same voice? For some retarded reason. Like they couldn't even like make it like a little bit more high pitched, a little bit lower. No, they were the exact same sound.
They're like, hey, what setting did we use for the Black Scorpion? I got a great idea. Why don't we use that same setting for the Shockmaster?
I'm pretty sure that there was some stupid people who might have smoked some pot around the time that the Shockmaster debuted, and they're like, wait, this Black Scorpion put on some weight and has become the Shockmaster
from Norfolk, Virginia.
Wait, Tugboat is Black Scorpion.
Now, if this was on the Firefly Funhouse, we can logic our way into that.
Man.
So,
oh goodness gracious,
yeah, so good.
Oh yeah,
good.
I'm talking to Corey after the podcast. He's gonna be. I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up here tomorrow.
Right.
Let's do this.
All right. So I guess we could get a little bit into the actual wrestling that happened this week. We could. Well, I think we kind of have to talk about the shows.
Why is he doing this? Why are you going to call me the Big Show? I'm not the Big Show.
I love the Big Show. Yeah.
About as much as as much as you love Peter Carmonas.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
So is the Big Show.
And this is just the fucking thing that is itching at my mind.
What could that be, Cousin Jay?
Seth Rollins lost not once, but twice at WrestleMania less than a month ago. but somehow is going against Drew McIntyre at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view for the title. Now, I know that Seth Rollins went and beat up Drew McIntyre, and he kind of goaded him on to this. This should be a non-title match, if anything. He does not deserve a title shot because he lost fucking twice at WrestleMania. If you're going by logic, the man should be at the back of the line. If Drew McIntyre wants to beat the crap out of him because, hey, the dude fucking took me out from behind and fucking fine. Go after him. But title should not be on the line. Fucking stupid. I hate when they do this shit. They do it all the time.
Speaking of stupid, Chris Brown actually had a really good question, and I'm curious to see what your answer is and your opinion on this is, especially because it was directed towards you.
Sure.
It was announced that both Money in the Bank ladder matches are going to be taking place at the same time at Titan Tower. And what are your thoughts on both matches happening at the same time?
I think everybody, when they heard that they were doing this at Titan Tower, thought this was going to be a cluster. Like, just by having, like, a Money in the Bank match at Titan Tower. And now, like, this is going to be, I think, an even bigger cluster. I think the wrestlers themselves are going to have a ball doing this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for them.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. It's like, are they going to do something so gimmicky, like, where, like there's 2 or 3 women trying to get the Money in the Bank on one side, and the men are going to be on the other side at the same time doing that? Like, to me, it would take away the spotlight from one of them. And it's like, booking-wise, they need to have one match and way before the other one, just so, like, each person gets their moment. But beyond that, it'll be mass chaos. It'll feel like the Attitude Era, like having cameras in the halls, running down the halls, going up the elevators. But, like, what if they go down? I know that this is all, like, choreographed, but what if they, like, all right, what if they decided to branch out in literally they're like going in 10 different directions? Are they going to have a camera crew and everything where it's like going, all right, what the hell's going on? It's hard enough sometimes to follow wrestling when Kevin Dunn is so, like, enamored with dams and getting shots of people instead of what's going on in the ring. Like, I hope this comes over and comes off and goes really well. I don't know how much faith I have in them pulling it off. Now, if they do like the cinematic approach with this, there are some things they can do shooting that style where it'll be safe for the wrestlers and they can do things that they normally wouldn't be able to do, like having them fall from off the top of the building onto, like, a crash pad below. Right. But then, like, I could see John Morrison doing that because part of his hiatus away from WWE is he was doing stunts. Right. So I could see them throwing John Morrison off the top of the building, and then you get a cutaway shot after they've removed the crash pad of John Morrison down below dead. Yeah. Well, not really dead, but dead.
Just like they buried AJ Styles at WrestleMania, but he'll be back on Monday.
Right. So, like, there are opportunities for that. I don't have a good feeling about this, though.
There is a couple of, like, underlying storylines that they could do if they have both the men's and the women's match going at the same time. Because, like you said, somebody getting thrown off the building is one of those storylines that I could see them doing in a situation like this. But what I want more than anything else, if they're going to have the men and the women going at it at the same time, is I need the face-off between Shayna Baszler and Baron Corbin. And just drop a microphone between the two of them. And whoever grabs the microphone gets blown up or something. I don't know.
Right. Eric asked if you've seen the dark side of the ring.
I have not seen the dark side of the ring for this season. I watched all of season 1, but I have not seen anything in season 2. I've been so caught up with Ozark that I have not seen The Dark Side of the Rings yet for this year. And also, I know you were talking the other day on Facebook about looking for an Andre the Giant action figure, and I was trying to find a picture of it in my phone and all that stuff. But the only one that this is the one that I have. It's one of the Hasbro action figures.
And he also has
Fezzik. I also have the Andre the Giant Funko Pop back there. But this thing, I am getting buried with this thing. Okay?
not by Triple H.
Not by Triple H, but by this thing.
Eric, we did talk about the sale at the beginning of the episode, and we went it pretty in depth with our feelings and why we think both of us think better than 50-50 shot that WWE gets sold.
Yep, agreed.
So, but yeah. So Seth Rollins getting a title shot doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, I thought the promo that he cut on Monday Night Raw was actually really good. You know, he brought up, hey, Drew, a lot of similarities between you and I. Both of us beat Brock Lesnar in, like, main event of WrestleMania. You know, both of us, you know what it's like to carry the weight of having that title and being the guy. And then he finally kind of flips the switch and says, but the one thing you don't have is leadership. That's something I've got. And, you know, just kind of did his best heel, like, I'm better than you. And it's not that I hate you, but I'm what the WWE needs right now. I don't want to take the title. I need to take the title. I'm what's best for you. I'm what's best for the audience. So, but, so, like, they're doing, like, the contract signing, and, you know, contract signings go as they go, and McIntyre ends up, you know, starting to beat the crap out of Rollins. He ends up, so Murphy ends up coming and kind of coming in for the save to help out Seth Rollins, and then Murphy ends up eating the Claymore for his troubles. So all in all, like, good segment, but, like, if you're talking booking wise, why the hell does he get a title shot?
Same reason why Roman Reigns was getting a title shot at WrestleMania against Bill Goldberg before any of that, before he, like, determined who it was, before obviously the coronavirus kind of screwed that up. But it's just I don't know. I mean, it's just stupid WWE booking. I mean, how many times do I have to say it? I mean, you go back to probably about more than half of the episodes that we've watched and, you know, we've done in the past 3+ years, and
but that's usually you're bad or brainless.
And it's just like, I'm how many more times do I need to talk about how stupid WWE booking is? I can't keep doing it, because I get, it's just, at this point, it's just frustrating and just disheartening that I have to keep saying the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
I can't wait till my fucking brainless. You have no idea.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Good and not terrible.
So we had that. Then we had MVP, and he was having a discussion with 3 people who are in the Money in the Bank ladder match: Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, and Apollo Crews. Pretty quickly after that, Zelina Vega comes out and challenges the 3 of them, Playa, to a match, and basically they put their Money in the Bank spots on the line against Garza, Austin Theory, and Andrade. I dislike when they do things like that, because it makes the faces look like freaking idiots. It's like, you got an opportunity at the Money in the Bank contract. Why would you put it on the line? Why? I don't care if you're the fucking good guy and you feel like I will always triumph. It's like, don't be stupid, man. You take your opportunity and win. But, you know, they needed a 6-man tag match, Playa. So we ended up getting a 6-man tag match, and Apollo Crews actually ended up getting the pinfall here. You know, when you looked at all the people in the match, everybody's like, Apollo Crews, why is Apollo Crews in Money in the Bank match? Which ends up getting a little explained a little bit later on, because then he ended up challenging for the U.S. title against Andrade later in the episode. They had a heck of a match going, and then Cruz goes for move off the top rope and injures his knee in ref stoppage, and that was that. And apparently now that spot is considered TBD for the Money in the Bank. I'm assuming that it's going to go to like Andrade or Austin Theory or Garza.
Or AJ Styles. Because
he did.
Because he did. Well, they announced that AJ Styles was able to dig himself out of the hole that he got put into, and he is going to be back.
If there was a golden shovel, that would have been like the greatest thing.
Well, then Triple H would have to get involved, and Hulk Hogan
he was
would have
involved.
to get involved, and
John Cena would have to get involved,
and it would have just. And that's that. There's your gimmicky, stupid, retard match. You have the Undertaker versus Undertaker versus John Cena versus Hulk Hogan versus Triple H in a golden shovel on a pole match. And it would be the longest running. It would last longer than the two gauntlet matches that are still going on, where Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston both lasted over an hour.
Oh boy, they're going to have a gauntlet match on Raw. I wonder if it's going to be as long as it is.
Fucking on!
I dig gauntlet matches. I really do. They've done them a lot.
It's like you run out of ideas. So what do? You give us a gauntlet match. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'm going to run through a gauntlet of fucking blow-up dolls.
I think I need to save that for a sound effect. I'm going to run through a gauntlet of blow-up dolls.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Nicole heard that. She's definitely texting some kind of negative thing in a text message right now. I'm going to run through a blow-up doll.
Wait.
You okay there, bud? You need a moment? Grab a Snickers. Here, Brandon, let's one have a Snickers.
This is like whenever anybody brings up Gatsby.
Why would you do that now? Why would you do that now?
Wait.
This is like watching the Indians blow a game in the ninth inning.
Yeah. So are they all going to look like Liv Morgan? That was a question.
Oh, shit.
You only live once.
Until my buddy Justin finds out about the fact that they're all looking like Liv Morgan, then he's gonna freaking plow through them more than I would.
Yeah. All right.
No, I think a couple of them are gonna look like Zelina Vega and one Alexa Bliss.
All right, so we did have one Liv Morgan beating Ruby Riott, and you know, this has kind of been like a storyline that was kind of going before Ruby Riott got injured, continued after she came back, and it seems like this is the end of their feud, and I thought they deserved more for this feud than, you know, what ended up being a short match on Raw. I think they could have. They've got a 3-hour show on Monday, and they couldn't give them more than a couple of minutes. Thinking about the blow-up dolls?
Oh my god, I just sound even more fucked up.
You couldn't give them more than a couple minutes, right? Yeah.
I was just thinking, I could see if they could have like one of those inflatable hippos and call it Nia Jax. Don't let that running through that one. Probably hurt me.
So, speaking of Nia Jax...
No, let's not say we did.
She did have a triple threat match with Asuka and Shayna Baszler, which ended up in like a no contest.
Because neither one of them wanted to get in the ring with her. That's why.
Asuka cut a promo against Nia for what was done to Kairi Sane, and Nia does what she does and kills people. So
she also climbs up the side of buildings and swats at planes.
Yeah. David, Nia Jax is back. Basically, we believe because The Rock is her cousin. She has not gotten better in the ring. She continues to hurt people in the ring. She should be fired. When they released everybody in the last couple of weeks, she should have been one of them.
Should have just shot her.
So,
God, I hate that woman.
Yeah. All right. So one tag team that I'm really interested in, because we've talked about both of these guys a lot, and we've talked about them of how they've been mismanaged and should be in much better positions on the card. But we got Ricochet with Cedric Alexander. Both these guys should be in better spots than they've been given, but they've been buried for whatever reason.
My God, they have incredible chemistry together too. They are very fun to watch. And if you give me a Street Profits versus Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, sign me up. That's like watching the New Day and the Usos wrestle. That is going to be an absolute masterpiece. Watching Montez Ford get in the ring with either Ricochet or Cedric Alexander. Seriously, sign me up. I'd be on board with that.
But they ended up going against a team called Everrise, which is Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. I'm not familiar with Brendan Vink, but, supposedly this, at least it's Shane Thorne I'm at least semi-familiar with, from his, what was it, TM61?
TM61 and whatever other names that they came up with, and him and the other guy.
Right.
I forget what the other guy's name was.
Right. Now, David loves the Street Profits too.
Word?
Yeah.
Street Profits are fantastic. Montez Ford is a star.
He is. He almost killed himself.
I know.
To do that. But
maybe he was thinking about what would Nia Jax do if I was in the ring with her.
Right.
She would throw me outside of the ring and kill me.
But, this is another one of those things where hopefully, they build up a team like this, but start taking, your tag team championships in your division a little more seriously, I hope. Now, Eric is not a fan of the Usos.
I like the Usos.
Hope they go into commentary when they retire.
He must be talking about the Street Profits.
I think they would be a fun thing to watch on commentary.
Oh, they're rather entertaining. I like Angelo Dawkins too. I'm just a huge fan of Montez Ford.
Yeah. So that was Raw in a nutshell right there.
And this is the Brainless One in a nutshell. Help! Look at me. I'm stuck in a nutshell. How did I get stuck in a shell like this? Where do you get a shell as big as this nut? In to deal with the Brainless One?
Eric, that would be great if Big Show is the manager of Nia Jax. Yeah.
Why is he trying to freaking donate to Braun Snowby?
Because, man, he wants to. Enjoy it.
It's only going to be a matter of time before Donnie Brown Snow comes in and goes, Omega, 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 and then just leaves.
So Chris is saying he thinks that Samoa Joe is going to be the next Taz on commentary where, injuries end up mounting up and they're like, going, you know what, you're pretty good at this. Why don't we let you do this full time? I love Joe. I think Joe, could have and should have gotten a little bit more. And his run's not over, but it's like every time it seems like he's getting momentum, injury happens. Sometimes freak, sometimes just.
He got injured doing a commercial.
He did.
How do you get injured doing a commercial? That's like when Craig got fired on his day off on Friday. How are you going to get fired on your day off?
I don't know. Yeah. All right. So on to Friday Night SmackDown. We ended up having Daniel Bryan defeating Baron Corbin via DQ. Corbin, if I'm remembering right, my brain gets fuzzy. It's crazy. I can remember shit from 30 years ago, but I can't remember last night. but Bryan beat Corbin by a DQ, and I think Corbin ended up using a chair or some sort of foreign object on him.
It was a ladder, and then Nakamura and Cesaro
right,
came out and all that stuff.
That's right.
And I'm the brainless one.
And Bryan ends up cutting a promo where, Money in the Bank was really the thing that catapulted my career. So
here's a trivia question for you, since you say you remember stuff from way back and not from yesterday. Who did Daniel Bryan beat when he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase to win the World Heavyweight title?
It was the Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had a cage match with the Big Show and Mark Henry not that long after. And I don't know why I remember this specifically, but Big Show had a injured hand. Mm-hmm. And that was part of the storyline of the matchup. Mm-hmm. And Daniel Bryan won because Big Show, who was trying to hold him up, eventually let go because his hand was injured. But what did Michael Cole not bring up at all about Daniel Bryan getting dropped by the Big Show?
Yeah, a broken hand.
Yes. Literally, that's the story they were telling. And literally, he said nothing about it. So when people complain about Michael Cole's commentary, that is a thing I will specifically point to. It's it was so obvious. Even I'm Cole, why aren't you saying he obviously dropped him because his hand is injured and then they've been working on that hand during the match?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It was so fucking obvious.
Think about that freaking cash in. He cashed in on the Big Show, who just beat Mark Henry to become the World Heavyweight Champion. Then he beat Mark Henry and the Big Show in a steel cage to retain the title. Then we got the Elimination Chamber, which led to one of the loudest pops when everybody was rooting for Santino to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and Daniel Bryan made him tap to the label lock. And then, what did we get? It's a shameful thing, lobster head. When Sheamus knocked his head off in 18 seconds and won the title. Yeah, but one of my favorite WrestleMania moments, even though as much as I love Daniel Bryan, but Sheamus is God.
Right. So that was all that. Look at that. Look at that thread that we wove.
Something else that happened on SmackDown this week, we got the qualifying match, which was actually the last qualifying match for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match between the Dozer and Dolph Ziggler. And what a lot of people are saying is the surprise of the entrance, as much as Apollo Crews was a surprise being in, obviously now he's got the kayfabe injury, and he's probably is now going to be out of the Money in the Bank. But the fact that the Dozer got in was kind of a surprise because, like you said, you were expecting Dolph Ziggler to get his win back right there. Would have made a lot of sense, but kudos
to the Dozer, man.
Good for Dozer. I hope he wins now. I want him to win the Money in the Bank because we need the Dozer and the Braun in a match, and they have to bring back Cassius Ohno, and then they're gonna have a hot dog eating contest for the Universal title.
Right,
but give me the Dozer winning, baby.
Woo! Eric. What the fuck is wrong with El Generico? He's gone hipster leftist.
Who looks like Fidel Castro.
Right. It's a thing, man. It's his shtick. So. Hate to say a brainless one, but it'll be Mahal winning the briefcase.
I'm okay with Mahal winning. Give me the Jinder.
Hey, if that happens, you know what we could get again?
The Punjabi prison.
Yes. They put the Punjabi prison on top of Titan Tower.
We need the Punjabi prison to return at WrestleMania 37. That's what we need. We need Jinder. Jinder needs to win again.
That would be great.
Jinder.
Jinder versus Brock Lesnar in a Punjabi prison match.
Oh, God, no, that would be terrible.
Somebody would die named Jinder Mahal.
There would be a Singh brother on every side of the arena.
Oh, man. That would be so good. We got Braun Strowman coming out to cut a promo to hype up his match against Bray Wyatt. And almost immediately, Bray interrupts him, little Firefly Funhouse, and Bray's talking about the lost sheep and how he's going to bring the lost sheep back, but he's going to bring the lost sheep back to slaughter. And Strowman's like, be a man, come out here and get these hands, and all that.
You can't feel good knowing if you're a man and another man is telling you to get these hands. Am I the first one to actually mention that now? I mean, it's kind of like weird that a man is saying, get these hands. I don't want those hands, man. Thank you.
Is that what you say when you line up the blow-up dolls? Yeah!
No, I say it's clobbering time.
Oh, man. So good. So, yeah. You know, I think this feud would be better if there was a crowd there to interact with the two of them. Both of them, like Bray is like top level on the mic, and Strowman does fine enough. But you know, they're kind of weaving in some of the backstory, but it's not quite as, you know, personal. Like, hey, what the hell did you do to me back then? Like, you know, he talks about, hey, I'm not your puppet anymore and blah, 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 but they could do so much more with this. I hope that in the next week, they're able to flesh a little bit more out of this, but like, it's been a bit of a dud of a build-up for this.
Agreed.
So,
especially considering their backstory with each other and all that stuff, and this is what we're getting. I expected a lot better because we knew eventually we were going to get the Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman match.
Yeah, it was going to happen.
It was inevitable.
And there are some outside circumstances which prevented it from happening, but or which made it happen faster than it should have. But you know, this is what they've got. But they could have done better with what they've had recently.
Agreed.
So then we had Carmella qualifying for a Money in the Bank ladder match. She was going against Mandy Rose. But during the match, out came Sonya Deville and ended up distracting Mandy, which helped Carmella go over. And honestly, I think this Sonya-Mandy storyline might be, at least in my view, the best storyline they have going. It's been going on for a little while. They actually did like a slow burn with this, you know, where like, hey, who is effing with the text messages to the dozer? And like, why?
The goats are.
So I think it's cool what they've done with the storyline. They've continued it, and hopefully it could be a launching pad for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else happened. I think that's it for SmackDown, isn't it?
So no. We got the Forgotten Bombs.
Ah, yes, the one thing I didn't want to remember from SmackDown.
So everybody absolutely knows how much I love when champions lose fucking matches.
Especially clean.
Just so they could get somebody to fucking leapfrog. There's a thing called a ladder that you're supposed to fucking go up. And, you know, the Forgotten Sons here, like, I have nothing against them. I when they got called up a few weeks ago, I was kind of the belief and of the thought, hey, could these guys be like Elias, where they did not get over in NXT, but somehow they end up getting over on the main roster? It's possible. It's possible they could, and obviously WWE sees at least enough in them where they feel like they should give them this opportunity. But I hate when they do this fucking bullshit. You got the New Day, who are probably in the last 5 years the top team. In the last 10 years, they're probably the second team under the Usos. And you literally just had them win the titles a couple weeks back, and now you have them lose immediately. They did the same thing with fucking Miz and Morrison. They win the titles and they fucking lose non-title matches after non-title matches. New Day wins it, lose a non-title match. Why? Why? There are other teams that they could leapfrog. They literally could have done like a
gauntlet match.
They could have done a gauntlet match. They could have done a fatal 5-way tag team match. They could have done a whole number of things to help the Forgotten Sons get up the card. They could have had the Forgotten Sons go and like beat the hell out of the New Day just to beat the hell out of the New Day. To like, all right, well, we're going to have a match against you, and have it be a non-title match, and work it forward from that, but build them up. Don't sit there and like just, all right, we're going to have you have a match. You're going to win a non-title match. Within the first few weeks, you're going to be up here, and then you're going to have a title shot. By the way, you're going to lose at your title shot. So the story goes. I just hate seeing this shit. So
it's not good shit, pal.
But so that's that. And that was SmackDown last night because we already talked about Otis qualifying by beating Dolph. So that is what it is. So right now the entrance for the Money in the Bank contest for the women, it's Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella. I hope all these ladies have some hazard insurance in case Nia gets too close to them and accidentally throws them off the building where there isn't a crash pad. And for the men's Money in the Bank, we got Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, who like a couple of weeks ago we had heard that like he was one of the people released.
The alumni section,
but apparently not yet. And we got Aleister Black, we got Baron Corbin, we got Otis, and we've got a to be determined.
Ooh, I like that. I like that, to be determined. I think to be determined is going to win the match.
Yeah,
he's got a lot to prove in this match. To be determined,
right?
A lot to be determined.
I see what you did there.
I already have my ideas who's going to win both those matches, but I will wait till next week. As much as I'd like to see the Dozer, I already have somebody else who I think is going to end up winning it, and I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to agree with me on that too.
You know, Eric, I thought that Baron Corbin, I would say about a year ago, I would say was the Nickelback of professional wrestling.
I saw you said that.
I don't have that feeling anymore. Like he's kind of won me over.
I like Baron Corbin now.
He has gotten much better on the microphone. I'm not saying he's really good, but he's gotten much better.
He's not horrific.
He is perfect as an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Keep firing.
Assholes.
Yeah. He wants to see Monsef wants to see Aleister Black win Money in the Bank. Hey.
Well, you're going to have to wait about a week before I give you my predictions for the Money in the Bank for both.
Yeah.
In the title matches and all the other stuff, because we always do that.
Yeah, we'll do that next week. And actually, our hope for next week is we're actually going to do a special episode. I don't know if we'll be able to do it live, because I think what we're going to do is we're going to have an episode of the podcast via Zoom with our boys, Jesse and Al Jefe. And we'll do our Money in the Bank predictions. We'll talk wrestling. But I don't know if Zoom will allow us to stream live onto Facebook, so we might have to record it and then post it. But we'll let you know as we kind of get closer to that. So,
yep.
So, all right. So NXT this week, we're continuing with the Cruiserweight Championship tournament. Now, I do like the fact that they've kind of changed up the format of the tournament. Compared to like a normal tournament, they kind of set this up more similar to like when you have like the World Cup for soccer, where you play everybody within a group, and then you're like assessed points, and then whoever has the most points moves forward. Well, they have Group A, Group B, and basically I don't know if everybody, but I think almost everybody's gone against two people at this point.
I think they all gone up against two people up to this point.
So there's still one person for each of them to go against, and then whoever wins from Group A will end up going against Group B to be the interim Cruiserweight champion. Now, interim is specifically because Jordan Devlin has been stuck in Ireland because of the coronavirus, and who knows when travel restrictions are going to be lifted. So we have no idea when he's going to be back, but there are a lot of fun pairings that are ending up happening here, and they've used the story of Drake Maverick being let go as part of the storyline here of like, hey, this is his last shot at getting back into WWE. Now, supposedly that isn't going to happen. I'm going to say that could be a bit of bull crap, because if public sentiment gets behind him that much, it's been known to, on occasion, change WWE's mind.
Remember the
Daniel Bryan was not supposed to be in WrestleMania 30's main event.
Heath Slater and Rhino are not supposed to be the inaugural SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions.
Things change.
Yes.
So we shall see how all that goes. So one match we had Isaiah Swerve Scott defeating Phantasma. Now, right now, both of those guys in their bracket are both 1-1. And both these guys are in Group B, which includes Akira Tozawa, Gentleman Jack Gallagher, and the two that were mentioned. Group A has Kushida, Drake Maverick, Tony Nese, and Jake Atlas. Now, the other match that we did end up having was Drake Maverick did go against Tony Nese and beat him. So now Drake Maverick is 1-1, Tony Nese is 0-2. That more or less eliminates Tony Nese from his opportunity of winning this thing. But it gives Drake Maverick a shot.
I think Kushida's 2-0 then.
If I were putting money on this, I'm saying Kushida wins this thing out, but I think he and Drake Maverick are going to have some sort of monumental match to really, like, Kushida's going to win, or Kushida might lose, but then they'll have to have like some sort of sudden death, because both will be 2-1, and then whoever wins amongst that will have the shot. And I don't know, the other end of the bracket, I feel like Swerve Scott is going to be the dude.
They are really high on Isaiah Swerve Scott too.
So that's my feeling. But so we had Candice LeRae, now a heel with her husband, beating Stacey Cannizzaro. Is that it? Casey Cannizzaro.
Still to this day, the first woman to accomplish the American Ninja Warrior obstacle course. First one. Doesn't mean she was the only one, she was the first one.
Yeah. So Candice LeRae, the new heel persona, right now it feels weird, unnatural, but she could grow into it. So sometimes it just takes people time to find their footing with things. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. Johnny Wrestling's already killing it as a heel, so we'll see how they build this going forward. All right, so then Byron Saxton hosts the Newly Bros shows. And I guess Saxton's pretty good, I guess, at being a fake game show host.
Does that mean he's going to start hosting Family Feud?
Yes.
Great.
But basically it was Matt Riddle and his new tag team partner, Timothy Thatcher, who are now, the acting tag team champions, because
Pete Dunne is stuck in England.
Yep.
Because of the coronavirus.
Yep.
I mean, raise your hand if the coronavirus hasn't affected anything in your life.
Right.
No hands. That's what I thought.
So during the segment, they start answering questions, but then Imperium comes out and destroys them. So that looks like a collision course that will be happening sooner rather than later. And I feel strongly Imperium needs to have a victory and needs the titles at some point. And the fact that Pete Dunne is not in the mix here means that Pete Dunne does not have to take a pin, doesn't have to deal with consequences for losing. So that's my feeling on how this will end up turning out. But I'm entertained by Riddle and his shtick, even though it seems like he's a bit of an asshole behind the scenes, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Then we had Adam Cole, baby! Cut a promo talking about how he is the greatest NXT champion of all time and how the dream is going to be over.
Ooh, I just realized we haven't really touched base on the dream yet.
So the Velveteen Dream is going to have his title shot against Adam Cole, baby, very soon. I forget if it's next week or if they're waiting a few more weeks, but either way, I think Adam Cole, baby, is going to win this match, and in part, there's been some
Speculation.
stuff that has come up in the news about Velveteen Dream. Now, according to Dream, he was hacked and somebody stole some pictures from his phone and ended up sending it out to people who should not be getting said pictures. And there's been an investigation. I don't know if there's anything, I don't think he's been charged with anything, but he's being investigated, and I don't think they've cleared him in any way, but I don't think they've ruled out anything either. So we'll see where this goes. I hope that this isn't true.
I hope so too.
But yeah, Velveteen Dream dealing with a little stuff. But hopefully, it's not going to, at least for now, distract me from what should be a good match and a good kind of tit for tat with promos between the two of these guys, because they're both top notch. So
can't be any worse than the EC3 Velveteen Dream storyline where they're at the hotel. Why don't you have a seat? All right, stand up. No.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, why the hell does he have the pictures on his phone? I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of the Page thing a couple of years ago. Why would you keep that stuff somewhere where people could possibly get to it? Not that somebody deserves to be hacked or what have you, but like people do things like that where they don't even think about it. They're like, going, oh yeah, I'll just leave it here. Nobody's going to hack into me, or nobody's going to do anything to my phone. So I don't know. Crazy. So that's that.
Is that Mr.
That's that. So Charlotte has been, saying, she is going to run roughshod through the NXT women's locker room, and she's gonna, be the greatest NXT women's champion of all time.
Right.
And she started this week by going against Mia Yim, which I guess all in all it was a pretty good match. But predictably, what happens when Mia Yim's in a match? There are what are called some rough edges or botches, or whatever you want to call them. Mia Yim, to me, is one of the people that a lot of people have a very high opinion of. I do not. She botches in every match pretty badly. And I don't understand the appeal of her. That's just for me, though.
I don't either. I'm starting to not, and I get why. I'm starting to think I get why people are doing it, but I can't tell you.
Yeah,
because I don't know.
David saying a thing that we've echoed on the podcast many times. Sick of her winning championships. Charlotte is the top of the food chain as far as female competitors in WWE, as far as I would say being a draw, but she doesn't need to win everything. They should have used WrestleMania to take Rhea Ripley to the next level. Now, I don't know if a lot of this has to do with the visa issues that Rhea Ripley had, and they're going, oh, we need our champion to be in the country. I don't know. It could have been part of that, but even so. But what can you do? She is the champion, but she defeated Mia Yim here, and immediately after the match, Io Shirai challenged her, and that match will be happening soon. I love Io Shirai. It sucks that she's been out injured for so long, and she's finally back, and she's going to get fed to Charlotte and lose. I have no doubt they're going to have a great match, but it sucks that she's coming back to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it could be a building block for her, but I don't know. I don't know. Whenever Charlotte is involved, I just don't have great feelings as far as other people getting built up. And we did find out the now former Killer Cross will be making his debut next week on NXT, and his new name is Karrion Cross. And the thing is, these days they actually do, for the most part, consult with the talent. So I'm gonna guess he actually signed off and said, "Yes, I like this name."
And I want to know what the hell Rowe and Hanson were thinking when they signed off on the Viking Experience.
They were probably thinking, "We're on Monday Night Raw. This isn't Triple H. This is Vincent Kennedy McMahon. We can't say no to him." Although that name changed
Like in a week.
and then changed again.
The Viking Raiders.
So
Minnesota, Vegas.
right. And then for the main event on NXT this week, we had there are so many Lees I can't even fucking Keith Lee. Keith Lee defeated Damian Priest in the North American Championship match. These two guys have been going on and off for months and months. Like it's like three parallel horses racing between Keith Lee, Jovic, and Damian Priest. You know, you put these guys in the ring, they're going to have a good match. It's almost like when you put the New Day and the Usos together, they're going to have a good match. Another really good match in the Keith Lee. My gut tells me he is going to be the one who actually dethrones Adam Cole, baby.
I do too.
And I think he's going to hold both titles possibly at the same time. It's possible that they could pull a fucking Roman Reigns here and have him lose the title only to get catapulted into the main event picture.
Question. Remember back at WrestleMania 6 when Hulk Hogan fought the Ultimate Warrior and the Warrior won it and it was both champions?
Champion versus champion, title for title.
Who did the Warrior drop the Intercontinental title to?
He just gave it up.
He just gave it up. He relinquished
they said you can't have both championships, and they ended up having a tournament to determine who the new IC champion was.
And do you remember who won? Was it Piper?
No.
Was it Bret
Piper? Piper won it. It could have been Mr. Perfect.
That's a hell of a pick. That's a perfect selection.
Piper ended up winning it at the Royal Rumble in '92.
Yes, he did. Because that was when because they were talking about how he won the title at the '92 Rumble and that he could have like the
40 minutes.
They were like he could have the greatest night in wrestling history by winning the Intercontinental title and then the WWF Championship in the Royal Rumble, which went on to go to "This is the greatest day of my life," with a tear in my eye.
We're not the type of guys that like to say we told you so, but we told you so. Yeah.
I miss Bobby Heenan.
Go. All right. So AEW this week, we had the continuation of the TNT Championship Tournament. And we're down to the semifinals for this week. And to start the show, we had Cody Rhodes going against Darby Allin. These guys have had a bit of a history, and they put on a heck of a match. These two guys, you get them in the ring, they've got chemistry, and Darby Allin does his crazy shit, and you got Cody, who is just kind of the veteran who knows how good he is. And these guys delivered, and we had Cody going over in this match.
Yep, no surprise. I had a feeling that Cody was going to make it to the final. In fact, my prediction for the finals of the TNT title is starting to come into fruition because I really do think it's going to end up being Lance Archer versus.
Well, it is Lance Archer versus Cody. It's already decided.
So that's where I was going to go.
So Archer ended up having a match later that day going against Dustin Rhodes, and he ended up beating Gold Dustin. I'll call him Gold Dust, I guess.
Call him whatever you want. Black Rain,
right? But
the Natural.
So this was one of those matches where they're trying to make Archer look super, super strong, where like he couldn't even be held down for a 2 count. He ends up busting open Dustin, and Dustin could never quite get a ton of momentum going. And Larcher. I'm having problems with the English language today. Lance Archer ends up going over, and it will be he and Cody. And supposedly this match, the finals of the TNT title tournament, will be at Double or Nothing that's supposed to take place in about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly it's still going on. Where it's going on, who the hell knows? Probably in Jacksonville, but we'll see, I guess. So we had the Best Friends defeat Kip Sabian in Jimmy Havoc. Best Friends have been more or less an enhancement tag team. They do a pretty good job of making other teams look good while never getting a victory. But there was a point in this match where your boy, Orange Cassidy, got taken out, which kind of left it so Penelope Ford could kind of do some nefarious tactics, except for it backfired, and she ended up helping to send Kip, I think it was Sabian, into the guardrail, and that ended up leading to Havoc. I want to say it was Beretta. I think it was Beretta who ended up getting the pinfall.
Mm-hmm.
So the Best Friends go over.
Because of the GOAT, Orange Cassidy.
Sure, we'll go with that.
He is a GOAT.
No, man. Why is he a GOAT?
Because he is.
Is it because he's the best wrestler to ever wrestle with his hands in his pockets?
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
He's actually a really good wrestler. I watched a video on him, like a little mini documentary on him. I have a hell of a lot more respect for Orange Cassidy now. Orange Cassidy could actually wrestle, and when he was in the independent scene, he really just didn't have an identity. All he was a guy who could actually wrestle. So one day he took some time away and he tried to develop, make a character for himself. So he's like, I'm going to portray a wrestler who just doesn't care and wrestles with his hands in his pockets, and it fucking works. He might be the most over wrestler in in AEW.
No, Cody.
No, Cody's not the most over.
Cody is by far the most over.
I think it might be
by
Moxley.
Far. Moxley's the champion. Whenever Cody comes out, he gets the loudest pop. Right now, he doesn't because nobody's there. But everybody knows that he's the dude who started the organization that's not WWE, so he gets the loudest cheers. Just like when the Young Bucks come out, I think they get those loud cheers because they helped start the organization. I think people like the Bucks. I know you don't, but like most people do, and that's why they get such loud cheers. Whereas, Moxley gets a ton of cheers. Jericho obviously gets a ton of cheers, and he
sing Judas.
But Cody, in my view, is the most over dude. And in my view, nobody's even close.
I would say George Cassidy. But nobody cared what I
you
until I put on the mask.
But if you're talking sales and hype, like Cody, bro.
You don't think people buy the Orange Cassidy stuff?
People buy it, but I'm talking about numbers, sheer numbers. Who did people like? When for me, what sold me on when was it Double or Nothing? When Cody went against Dustin, what sold me on that show? That did. It wasn't seeing Hangman Page versus Jericho, or was that later? Either way. That was later. Because
I was going to say, Double or Nothing was when the most overrated wrestler,
Adam Page, ended up winning that battle royal to get the shot at the title.
We first got to see Orange Cassidy in the AEW ring. But we got to see the most overrated wrestler of all time versus the GOAT of GOATs, who has goated more than the GOATs in the history of GOATdom have ever goated in the history of GOATdom. That's a lot of GOATs. It was Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, and the winner was...
I thought the most overrated was Triple H. I thought you established that earlier in the podcast.
All time. Right now, it's Kenny Omega.
Okay.
That's why I'm gonna run roughshod on a bunch of fucking blow-up dolls. It's because of Kenny Omega. I'm not going up. I'm not gonna gauntlet myself through a bunch of freaking blow-up dolls because of freaking Triple H.
Right.
Triple H, even though as much as he has a golden shovel and sucks, he never wrestled a blow-up doll.
Right.
Kenny Omega. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a shirt that says "Fuck Meltzer" on it too.
Right. We had Shawn. See, one thing that is happening an awful lot between WWE and AEW these days, we are getting a lot of your favorite types of matches.
Squash.
Yeah. We had one Shawn Spears defeat a jobber. Spears came in with a lot of acclaim, taking out Cody and busting him open so Cody had to get staples in his head. And called the chairman of AEW and had Tully Blanchard at his side, but has lost every major feud that he's had. To kind of rebuild some credibility, he needs to win some matches. Now, you start off with the jobber, but he does need to build up to something more than beating up jobbers or local competitors, as you like to call them. So, do you have anything to add?
I agree. I think that's exactly what Shawn Spears needs to do. He needs to rebuild his reputation out there because, like you said, he has lost a lot of big-time matches. In fact, for me, the biggest win he's had so far since he's entered AEW was when he had that 6-man tag match where he teamed up with, for the life of me, I can't remember who he teamed up with, but it was against Darby Allin, Joey Janela, and Jimmy Havoc. And he got the pinfall on Joey Janela when I forget what happened to him, but I just remember that was his biggest win so far.
That was the one where they were at that little concert venue.
Yeah,
right?
It was that Fighter Fest or Fight Fest or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Either way, Corey was very upset because he couldn't get it.
Right.
So
when he could have just come over to the house.
Yes. No, that was Double or Nothing.
He could have just come over to the house for any of these.
Yes, I know.
All right, so then we had Brody Lee in the ring going against Marco Stunt, and Brody puts him down. I mean, Marco Stunt's, about the same size as Drake Maverick. So maybe even smaller.
And Brody Lee is about the size of freaking Steven Adams.
Right.
The center for the Oklahoma City Thunder, if you don't know.
Yeah, I had no idea who you were talking about. So Brody Lee, so far so good with him being the head of the Dark Order. I still want to see where they continue to go with this, and hopefully he takes full advantage of this opportunity. It's tough to tell what's getting over because it's a weird time in wrestling. You can't hear a crowd. You can only judge by ticket sales and viewership. Mm-hmm. And viewership for AEW has gone down pretty significantly lately, and who knows why. I mean, watching wrestling, it's much better when there's an arena full of fans.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Than when there's nobody there, and it doesn't need to be a big arena. I enjoy watching NXT. It's just having the loud energy of the fans.
Right.
So I don't think this is part of a precipitous decline in AEW. It's a weird
just a time we're in right now.
So hopefully we'll see them continue to put on good shows and be an alternative to WWE, because with all the stuff going on with WWE, it's not that I have a thing against the wrestlers. I have a thing against the company, and I have not been watching it as faithfully as I used to be, and I'm just kind of like, so I hope AEW continues to thrive and gives us an alternative, and things like New Japan and Ring of Honor and NWA, all of which have been heavily impacted by this. It's a weird time.
Yes.
So I think we've touched on everything.
Wait, there's one thing I did want to bring up.
There are a couple of things that would, I think there are a couple of things we need to get to.
First, I wanted to bring up, does the name Bronson Rechsteiner sound familiar to you?
The second half of the name does.
And then you would be absolutely right if that was the case. Bronson Rechsteiner was a college football player. I want to say he played at Michigan, but I cannot confirm that or deny that. But Bronson Rechsteiner was recently signed by the Baltimore Ravens this past weekend after the 2020 NFL Draft. Why does Bronson Rechsteiner's name sound familiar to you all, you might be asking? Does anybody know who Bronson Rechsteiner is?
He is the son of a man who should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, Rick Steiner. So
the dog-faced gremlin son. And it actually, I mean, there have been former wrestlers whose sons have made it in the NFL. I mean, if we think about it, the Animal, Joe Laurinaitis' son, James Laurinaitis, who played at Ohio State, was actually a mainstay in the NFL for quite a few years.
I think he was on the Rams.
He was on the Rams for quite a bit of time, and I think he played for the Patriots for a bit, or am I thinking?
I don't remember him being on the Patriots.
But Laurinaitis had a pretty solid run with the Rams.
Baron Corbin used to be in the NFL. Bill Goldberg was in the NFL.
Bill Goldberg was in the NFL.
Tino Sabatelli was in the NFL.
Savvy Piscatelli.
Gronk is in the NFL and is the 24/7 champion.
Right. So I just wanted to bring up congratulations to Bronson Rechsteiner on making it to the NFL.
And there's a little tidbit that you brought up earlier today that you should probably actually share with the group, man.
So yesterday I saw it on Instagram and on Twitter, so they know it's a pretty big deal when social media has it all over the place. It was brought to my attention that a certain somebody yesterday was a certain
related to the person we're just talking about. We're trying to segue here, and literally you're trying to be mysterious. Just go and say it.
Anyway, yesterday was the 11 or 12-year anniversary of one of the most infamous promos that has happened in professional wrestling, and that was Steiner Math by Rick Steiner, or Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
I had a 50-50 shot of not fucking it up, and I actually had a 100% chance of not fucking it up, and yet I found a way to fuck it up. Because you think about it, you got two members of the Steiner brother family, which means they're both 50% of each other, of a Steiner.
So right there, you got a 50-50
chance of getting it correct. See, what I did was, I knew it was Bronson Rechsteiner was Rick Steiner's son, even though I got it screwed up and said it was Rick Steiner who did the promo instead of what Scott Steiner said. So what I did was I took Rick Steiner's 50%, I added Scott Steiner's 50%, and said that there was a 100% chance that I was not going to fuck it up. But what I didn't take into account was the fact that I'm a brainless one, and when you take the brainless one into account, that's 100% of it being brainless. So you take the Rick Steiner 100%, and you take the brainless one 100%, and you mesh them together, and more likely than not, I was going to screw up. Yeah. Senor J, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for the brainless one on this podcast.
Yeah. All right. So now. Chris is saying, now does AEW bring the Revival in after the 90-day no-compete clause?
I heard and Revival was talking to NWA.
I thought, was it the Revival was the team that doesn't have a 90-day no-compete clause?
Because what they did was they had all these trademarks that they tried filing for before they got the release from WWE, and WWE went to them and said, look, we'll let you go, and you can start just like that, but you have to stop with all these trademarkings that you've done, and that's what the Revival did to get their automatic release from WWE.
So Chris, they don't even need to wait. They could sign whenever, but I think with what's going on, most companies are kind of looking at their their bottom line and like going,
we go hard all day and night.
but the AEW hasn't let anybody go yet. I don't know if people are still getting paid, but they haven't let anybody go. So that they're probably, at least for now, unfortunately, bad timing in a holding pattern. So, but as Jim Cornette recently said it, and we've brought it up a few times, guys that are in AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and kind of floating between those things, those are true independent contractors. So it's possible they could be working for all of these. Mm-hmm. Whereas maybe this could be a weekly thing too, where I bring up like it's bullshit that they're called independent contractors in WWE, and WWE doesn't let them do anything except for things that are WWE. Fucking bullshit.
For sign autographs. That's about it.
Right. Yeah. So I think that hits most of the spots, except for we do still have the good, the bad, and the brainless.
So what was your good for this week, Cousin Jay?
There were several things in consideration for me, but I'm going to go with Darby Allin versus Cody Rhodes. These two have really good chemistry, and they had a really good match on Dynamite, and I'm looking forward to seeing more matches from them in the future, perhaps for the TNT Championship.
My good for this week goes to the curveball of curveballs in regards to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I'm going with Otis Dozovich getting this victory. And I'll tell you right now, 2020 is going to be the year of the dozer for the brainless one, because he's already been my good on more than one occasion so far in 2020. He's getting it again this week. He had his WrestleMania moment. I know you love that term, WrestleMania moment, but he had his WrestleMania moment this year. He had a great WrestleMania moment.
I don't mind WrestleMania moment. Don't tell me it's a WrestleMania moment, though.
You mean them, not you don't mind if
I say I don't mind if you say it.
Okay.
I mind if Michael Cole's like, oh, now that looks like it could be a WrestleMania moment.
WrestleMania sign. Hey, maybe that's
that crap drives me nuts.
I'm going to see if I can find a WrestleMania flag and we can hold it up on the wall during WrestleMania season, and I'll just randomly start pointing at the wall.
Yeah, light it on fire.
And the dozer might actually is in running right now for my wrestler of the year.
Right.
He got the girl.
Right.
Doesn't always have to be about what you've done. Like accomplishments, wrestling championship wise. But anyway, what is your bad for this week?
My bad is it's a common theme for me. This usually goes between bad and brainless. The New Day losing in a non-title match to a brand new team, and now that team is getting a title match, to which that new team is going to lose.
Yep. Stop me if you've heard that one before.
I don't mind WWE swerving us from time to time and changing things up. Those are fun, but they do this too often when they make it so damn predictable and so ridiculous, where it's like, really? You have the Forgotten Sons who could not get over in NXT, and you're going to put the rocket on them when they come up to the main roster. I dig Jackson Riker's look, his intensity. I liked him when he was Gunner in TNA. He's got a hell of a backstory, but make these guys earn it a little bit. I hate when they fucking do this, and that's my bad.
Okay. My bad for this week goes to Apollo Crews, and it's not in anything like he did wrong. It's that they finally give him his opportunity to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And he gets, he goes over, he wins the match in the 6-man tag match this past Monday, and in a team that was consistent with the United States champion being in it, which earned him a shot, which kayfabe had his injury in. And it sucks where poor Apollo Crews can't catch a break. And that's all he just wants, is to have an opportunity and everything. So that's why Apollo Crews gets my bad for this week.
Mark Henry came out, it was either last week or this week, where he talked in an interview that he thought the way to get Apollo to the next level was to use the fact that he always does that big smile but use it as a heel. Like, he beats the crap out of you or does something dastardly and like,
Yeah,
I think that would be a great way. I think Mark Henry's absolutely right, because Apollo did, like, I've said it from the moment that man got up to the main roster. He was in-ring main roster ready. He was not character ready to be on the main roster. I still don't know if he's character ready to be on the roster, but he was thrown into the deep end of the pool and never even given a shot to swim. Like, literally, Vince McMahon threw him in the deep end of the pool and said, hey, try to reach for the brass ring. Hey, try to reach for the brass ring. But, sir, you're not giving me a shot. Reach the brass ring.
And as he's about to reach the brass ring, there's a big dog that comes in and goes, this is my pool now.
So, he hasn't been given an opportunity, and maybe at some point he will. Yeah. I think you and I will share our brain list this week.
I think we're going to have different...
my brain list is the fact that Nia Jax has a job. Nia is reckless in the ring. I was willing, when she first started, to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, she's new, she'll learn. At this point now, it's been a few years. She hasn't gotten any better. And you know what? If you're going to be dangerous in the ring and people are going to get injured because of you constantly, it's time for WWE to move on, because the safety of their performers should be at the utmost. And between some of the things that you're hearing and this, it's like going, what the fuck? Nia Jax should not have a job anymore. And that's my brain list.
My brain list goes to the feminists that are going out there and defending Nia Jax for what she has done. So I was on social media, and Nia Jax, regardless, was going to get my brain list. But this is actually kind of going hand in hand with this. And I saw a post where one of the women goes out there, and she said that the reason that people are going after Nia Jax is because she's a bigger woman. Just go out there and admit the fact that she is a bigger woman. Just because people are going out there and saying that this fat bitch can't wrestle isn't because of the fact that she's a fat bitch. She can't fucking wrestle. She's a safety hazard to be in the ring, and it's going to take until she finally kills somebody before they have their eyes open. So the fact is that you, who are probably a fat bitch yourself, who's probably eaten enough Hostess cupcakes in your life to turn Kevin Owens on, and that's about it, who is not attractive, who's probably upset that the president is our president, who just wants to be heard because they can't be seen because they're just hideous, you need to stop. Nia Jax is not any good in the ring. Don't defend her because she's a fat bitch who can't wrestle. She is a fat bitch who can't wrestle, and it's less about the fact that she's a fat bitch, but it's more about the fact that she can't wrestle. So all the women that are going out there and defending her because she's a bigger woman need to fucking get their head examined, and that is why you get my brain list for this week.
And David, she did have surgery on both of her knees, and that's why she was out for the better part of a year.
You're welcome.
Brainless One had a rant probably about 13 or 14 months ago. It is on our YouTube page. If you subscribe to us at the FN Marks, you would be able to see the Brainless One's rant, which I believe goes on for about 6 minutes. I think actually during the rant, I just left the room and let you do your thing.
So you kind of just sat there and just kind of like let me have the forum. And you did this a couple times too.
Right.
Your facial expressions were priceless. I've watched it. I've had to get a couple of screen grabs for some project that I'm working on.
Right.
So, all right. I think that's it. I think we covered all our bases today.
Wait.
Except for one important base.
I think there's one thing left.
And this is not the final time we're going to do it.
Because
what Tommy said. That's because today, on May 2nd, even though he's no longer part of WWE, for 1,731 days, Curtis Axel is still alive in 2015. Roll. Yeah. So we bid adieu to episode 173 of the FN Marks podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I am the Brainless One. Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. And everybody, we may be doing a special episode on Zoom next week. We'll figure it out, whether it's going to be pre-taped or live. So we'll let you know. And heck, we might do the pre-taped thing, but what we might do before we put it online, we might have a short discussion before we put it online. We'll figure it all out during the week, but we'll most likely do it about the same time next week. So we will catch you all later. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you.
Enjoy your weekend.